this looks like it's a prayer.
It's out of a brochure,
card,
yeah.
like a prayer card or so and so. And I think he was either martyred in China. I know he died in China.
Yes.
At least that's what I remember. And so he was one of the
Let me
first.
pull the drapes in the front room. That'll just make it. No, you're good.
He was one of the first missionaries that were sent from Europe to China.
Uh-huh. Whenever you talk about that, I think of the Sand Pedals.
Yes, yeah, with Steve McQueen.
Yes.
Yeah. The a lot of that, that was more in the 30s, late 30s, with the Japanese.
Yes.
But when these missionaries went, both American missionaries and both Protestant and Catholic missionaries went to China in more recent times, the Know Nothing Society.
Yes.
It's the Chinese. The Chinese were in some degree there was friction in the Chinese motherland, if you want to call it, and so there was it was an attempt in some cases to anti-foreign societies, the triads and so on. But anyway, Fridolin is a card-carrying member of sainthood.
That's Brother Fridolin.
Fridolin, yes, his name comes up.
The one who did the grotto.
Okay. Are all the slides tagged like that?
Yes.
Terrific.
Yeah, that's the way I do everything. That's why it takes me
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to identify as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I tell this to other historians, put a date on it, because you'll probably be within the right decade.
Yeah, even if it's guesswork.
If it's 1940, but you got it labeled
Yeah.
as 1950, that's fine.
Yeah.
You'll be able to refine it later.
And what I can give you, I will show you. I won't give it today because I only have one hard copy, but I can send it to you. Is I'll show you this.
Now, were you a missionary?
I was.
Okay.
I went to the Philippines for 5 years and taught. Starting in this is the who's who at Conesus.
Oh, super.
Starting in 25.
Wow.
It was called St. Bernard's.
Yep.
And the priest was Father Neuhaus or Newhouse.
Yeah.
And this will tell you where he's from.
Wow.
It's Germany somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
When he was born, when he was ordained.
Super.
The brothers they were not ordained, so this last column is when they made their final profession of vows.
As a brother, though, can you conduct church services?
Not, you can't celebrate the Eucharist. Now you could hold a
By
prayer
Eucharist, you
vigil.
mean the Mass
Yes,
with the
yeah,
wine and
right,
the bread.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could not have what's considered the Eucharistic service or Mass like on Sunday. Brothers, it's interesting the distinction originally. It doesn't hold up so much today. Brothers were looked upon primarily as those who wanted to dedicate themselves to God and to the vocation as a missionary, but their practical skills came into.
Right.
In other words, the appeal was to carpenters,
Right.
plumbers. So they're the shock troops that
Right.
would help build the mission up.
Okay.
And so many of these brothers labored, like Fridolin,
Mm-hmm.
doing the grottos. He probably did other masonry work
Yeah, he
like
did
that.
3 grottos altogether
Yeah,
in the United States.
yeah. And it'd be interesting to find out if he did the ones at Girard, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it
and the
sounds
ones,
like one.
And the one at
I've got it written down which ones.
Miramar, Island Creek,
I've got it written down
Massachusetts.
which ones he did.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so brother Fridolin.
Yeah, that's super there.
So we'll find out.
Okay.
I could find out when he was actually first showed up at Conesus, and then you could say, oh, he looks like he's 35 or 40, or we could find exactly when that picture was taken, perhaps. Okay.
Now, did you also receive a cross?
You get a
That's
mission
when-
cross.
And that's when you're a brother.
When you're either ordained and assigned to a mission.
Okay.
And Fridolin probably was from Germany, and so when he came from Germany to the United States as his mission, he was given that mission cross.
Okay.
Yeah. They're smaller. The one that we got of our generation was smaller
Mhm.
than that. It was probably about this big.
Yeah, that's just the back of the card. In fact, as you go through these, whenever you see a picture and then you see the writing, that belongs to the one that you
Nice.
just saw.
Nice.
And it says here, 1909, Brother Fridolin gets cross number 2.
Interesting. This is probably when he was still in Germany.
I think so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet so.
because he looks old by the time I see
Yeah,
any pictures of him over here.
later. I bet so.
But I know that the order left
Hmm.
Germany because of the Nazis.
Well, what happened was Arnold Janssen, who was a German, could not start the Divine Word Missionaries in Germany. It goes back even further because of Bismarck and the anti-Catholic feelings in Germany, the Kulturkampf. So he started the seminary across the border. It'd be like going to Canada.
Right.
In Holland, the first seminary is at Style, Holland, across the Meuse River, I think it is. And so the Divine Word Missionaries, basically the first mother house, is not in Germany, it's in Holland. And that led to the...
I always laugh, because I have Welsh and Irish roots, and
we're all mongrels to some degree.
the English, I think, had more religious violence than any other country. They were just, there'd be generations of Catholics killing Protestants, and then the crown would change.
Yeah.
And then there'd be 3 or 4 generations of Protestants killing Catholics.
It went on and on. You know.
God.
There's Arnold Janssen. Yeah. He's now a saint.
Yeah.
Yeah. St. Mary's, see, that's Techny, Illinois. See Techny?
Yeah.
What they did is they modified it.
St. Michael's Mission, Conesus, New York.
That's interesting.
Now, is this Mary?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Mary, the Mother of God. It's probably from the miraculous medal, it looks like. And again, the stylized SVD. I don't know, play on words, but the Latin title of the congregation or the religious order is called the Societas Verbi Divini. And in Latin, that means Societas for society. Verbi is the Latin word for word, and Divini is divine. So the society of the word divine, or the divine word. And they used to joke about, when you mentioned earlier about your habits, smoke we don't, SVD, so we drink. Ooh, there goes your chip, or your woodchucks.
Oh, yeah.
I saw 2 of them chasing each other.
Yeah. Once the fox,
Yeah.
we had another litter this year, and once the fox moved out, well, then the chipmunks moved back.
Interesting. Ah, there's
Somebody's, there's somebody's report card.
1936.
That would have been the first year,
Yeah.
because that's when they built the administration building, what I call the administration
It's
building.
funny, before that, it was basically, there were no...
They were taking care of the vineyards.
Yes.
They've been here since 23.
Yeah, look at here. You're right on target. Alumni show up. They're not named because they were probably high school students or something like that. So alumni show up. I have a question about that designation because I'll show you later on. So there were, in 1937, there were 3 patres, and brothers, lay brothers, there were 9.
Now, a padre, would that be an actual priest?
That'd be a priest.
Okay.
Patres are priests, and then fratres laici, or lay brothers. Now, we were talking about...
There's Fridolin.
See, he's there, yeah. Isn't that interesting? Those are the other ones that were there with him. Now,
Well, that's good, because I just learned that his last name was Iten, just like his... I didn't know Fridolin might have been his last name. You know, it's,
well, what they did, it's interesting. You can't tell it from here. Priests kept their names.
Okay.
And these are in Latin, so you got to be careful.
Okay.
Petrus is Peter.
Right.
So Peter, Oswald. He's and these are all coded. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I have to go look what diocese and what part. This is probably German, but here's an Irishman, Thomas O'Connell from Cork, You know, he's from Ireland. And there's the years they were born, the year, like, he was the youngest of the priests. He was ordained in 36.
Yeah.
This one was ordained in 13, that was ordained in 33. And usually the first one in the list is the one in charge. And, but, you know, with the brothers it was different. They took a different name. He was probably, I don't know what it could be Andrew Iten was his real name.
Real name.
Real life.
Oh, okay.
And so Andrew Iten becomes Brother Fridolinus.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I've been mispronouncing everything.
Oh no. Well, but this is Latinized because this would be Brother Francis. This would be Brother Willibord. This would be Brother, well, I guess Herman probably. Conesus. Some of these I've never heard of. But see, here's an interesting one. How do they distinguish between the two Francis?
Yeah.
Francis the younger, Francis the older, maybe. Brother Joachim, Brother Ignatius, Brother Conrad. And then here's your alumni. That's from there.
Right.
So there is correlation, you know, interesting. And I can give you this, you know, it might pique your interest to look through and see some of this stuff.
Zip through some of these here. Oop. There we go.
That's part of the, is it part of the grottos?
Yeah, that's when they were building it.
Yeah. This is, oh gee.
These are farm help. Hired hands, they call them.
Yeah.
Now there's Anthony Iten. He later would become the foreman of the farm. His son, Joe Iten, was the one that was killed by lightning. I don't know if you ever heard that story.
No.
I have a couple of pictures of the interior of Bishop McQuaid's summer home.
Yeah. Well, did they work on Bishop? Did Bishop have? I know he had the winery. Did these people work for them before?
They
and then
supplied St. Bernard's Seminary in Rochester with food. They raised pork.
So that's the connection, in addition to the SVDs buying the property from the bishop and the vineyards. Before the SVDs came, they were supplying
supplying them with food. They had orchards.
Yeah.
They had, you know...
What else on the farm? What other things? Because, see, as kids, we didn't... I mean, not as kids, but as seminarians...
Right, you weren't involved in that part of it.
We worked in the vineyards.
Right.
We harvested and then and helped tie the vines back, but we never worked on the farm that I remember.
Yeah, no, the farm was quite active.
So sheep,
cattle,
cows,
milk,
okay,
cheese,
okay,
pigs. They butchered. I got a shot of them in there butchering.
Terrific. So these are all
local people, right? Yeah. And this is who I'm trying to get a hold of their descendants, or if any of them are still alive. I mean, they'd really be old now, but. You never know. One of the guys in my VFW post is 91. He's sharp as a tack.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
Well, that's a very blurry picture. It's Iten family.
So that's from their family album,
Yeah, that's where a
lot of these...
Well, no. This is a combination.
Okay.
When I interviewed Leo and Mary, they had some family photographs.
Oh, nice.
And I said, oh, man, can I scan them in?
Yeah.
This is actually Bishop McQuaid's summer home. Of course, Bishop McQuaid is dead by this time. Okay. He was dead by 1913.
So this one is actually...
This is because Leo Iten was the farm foreman. Yeah. I guess he pretty much
privileges,
had...
Yeah. Well, was this on what is now the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's where the winery is.
Yeah.
That building they used for the winery.
Yeah.
This building here, Bishop McQuaid's summer residence, was just a little bit more towards the lake. It burned down.
Okay.
And there's nothing there but ruins now. Okay. But I've got some nice pictures of it when it was there. The bishop was going to use it as a retirement home for diocese priests. We don't know that it ever really became that, but it did become a summer place for diocese priests. Because I've got pictures of 2 stories, balcony. Yeah. I got pictures of priests there in the summertime.
Interesting. Yeah, there's another.
Go through these. Yeah, there might even be duplicates in here.
Oh, that's fine.
The reason it's taken a while is I'm actually plugged into upstairs This is just a panoramic view. This is Joe. He's the one that was killed by lightning. This is the inside. Did you ever see this? This was inside the bishop's summer residence.
No.
This was his private chapel.
That is interesting.
This poor kid was he was out near a tree, and it was just a summer day, and a bolt out of the sky, and
Joe Eaton.
yeah. Now they're up in Buffalo. And I'm sure you've been up to the Lady of Victory.
Yeah,
My wife and I went through there. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
and I tell everybody that,
yeah.
boy, you got to go see it. It's like the Vatican in Western New York.
Yeah, it's transplanted.
Yeah. The only sad thing is all the German and Irish families that were up there have all moved out. You know.
Yeah.
As in every American city.
Inner city flight.
Yeah. This is a skating party.
This would have been seminarians.
The seminarians, yeah.
Yeah,
I've got better pictures of this. That's just a brochure picture. Yeah. So we're gonna. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this. Like I said, these are all on your disc. So you know everything. But these are actually pretty neat too, because these are just photographs they took. Well, these are bought ones here, postcards, but they also have their own photographs that he took when they went to...
so they must have gone there on trips.
Yeah, they went there on trip. They went to Watkins Glen on trips.
Yeah. As I said, we made trips. We went to Letchworth State Park. Yep. You know, that was part of the...
Yeah, these are all their own personal pictures. That's the power station at Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a bottom one. I think that's a bottom one. But it's really nice because it puts these guys in a real, you know, for most of us that weren't familiar with the operation, we're thinking they're all walking around looking like Friar Tuck and, you know, being quiet.
Well, they were being prepared in many cases to go abroad and to be so independent that they might not see another confrere for months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some pretty wild places, New Guinea being one
absolutely.
of them.
In the 30s?
Yeah.
I mean, when did Nelson Rockefeller's son come up missing? That was in the 50s or 60s, wasn't it?
And if you're interested,
they're seminarians.
Yeah.
One of the things when I give my presentations, I point out, these guys were all healthy young men. I mean, these guys were athletes.
Well, you had to be. I mean, look at me. No, I mean, I'm 70, but
yeah, you're in great shape.
But
I've got more wrinkles than you do.
I mean, we learned to ski there.
Yes.
Yeah. Father Wagner, our first novice master.
Oh, there's some great pictures in here. You like I said, you're just going to be bowled over.
Away, yeah.
Because there shows them playing baseball, shows them playing football.
That was their thing. A lot of sports was involved.
Did they still have the White House when you were there? That was where the seminarians originally stayed when they were building the other buildings. Later it was used by nuns.
Yes, in the back there.
Yes.
There was one in the back. Yeah, the Italian nuns.
Oh, you were there. I heard about the Austrian nuns, and they said they were number one.
Yeah.
And then came the Italian nuns.
Yeah. During our time, it was the Italian nuns.
They didn't work out quite so well, they said.
Yeah.
But the Austrian nuns went on and formed their own.
Yeah. There's a religious order that's associated with the Divine Word Missionaries. This is neat.
Yeah.
There's part of the grotto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Michael's Grotto, about 1939, Brother Fridolin. By this time, he's an old man.
Good gosh.
Now, you do know that most of these statues were saved.
That's what I heard.
And
what happened?
They went to Leroy.
Is that
right on Route?
Leroy?
Yes, right on Route 20 or 5. I can't ever remember which it is. But there's a convent over there. And they purchased the statues, with the exception of the big archangel. And all these statues ended up over there.
And that's Leroy.
Oh, LE, capital ROY.
Okay.
Leroy's the home of Jello. That's their big claim to fame.
Okay.
And luckily, you know, it's always good when hometown boys make good because they bring money back into the community. And the guys that owned the Jello family secret recipe, whatever. They brought millions back into the town.
So the convent at Leroy.
Yep, that's where all the statues
With the exception of St. Michael.
Right. The Archangel went to an antique collector in Buffalo for $24,000.
Mm.
And I have the newspaper articles on that,
Okay.
all scanned in.
Thank you.
Newspaper saved my...
I wonder what he did with it.
Oh, I don't know. Well, we had a scandal up here for a while. They were disposing of excess Catholic churches in Buffalo, and this inner city Christian church, headed by a black bishop, would buy the churches. He'd immediately strip them of their statues and their stained glass windows and sell them as antiques. And yeah, that was not good.
That was around the same time.
Yeah.
This would have been. Oh, there you are.
Yours would look exactly like that if I
Yeah.
could get my printer to work. My
Okay.
printer for printing labels on my disc.
Just send me that image. I have it.
Yeah,
That's
I
nice.
will
That's
send you
good.
the image.
That's good. No, that's fine.
That's how I make everything up.
I mean, mine is much more. I just took
Yeah.
stock.
No, I just do it like this, and I
I
tell them
like
what
that.
they are. JPEG files for computer, because some of the discs
Yeah.
I make up is for people who don't have computers, but they got DVD players.
Yeah,
So I make
yeah,
it up in
yeah.
that format.
Yeah,
Then it'll say for DVD player.
nice. This is terrific.
This is just my mother
Yeah.
load where I
Yeah.
haven't disposed of anything.
Yeah.
I haven't tossed anything out. Those were seminarians. We'll
Yeah.
get another picture up here. And anything you see with a TXT on the end of the
Yeah.
file names, that
It
means
they're
that
identified.
I've added
You've
text.
added text. Okay.
And this is Leo Iten. At age,
Now Leo is still alive.
yes,
How old is he?
86 maybe.
86. And his health?
Oh, good.
Is it?
Well, I haven't seen him in 2 years.
Okay.
Him and
But
his
you
sister.
interviewed him.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And that's what this other disc is.
Oh, lovely.
That's
Thank
our.
you.
That's going to be this right here. It's us looking at the computer screen
Okay.
with Mary and Leo sitting here saying, "Well, that's so and so, and that's."
Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? Well, thank you for doing
Make
that.
sure I still get. Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah. This is the other thing. This is why there's so many duplicates. Whenever I put text on a
Uh-huh.
file, I also save the original without text.
text,
So if I
yeah.
just wanted to make a blow up of the picture or whatever, I wouldn't have
You wouldn't
that
have to-
text.
you wouldn't have
right.
to, yeah.
There's times when I want text, there's times when I don't. This is the Iten family.
That's Joe and
Yep.
Joe,
That's Leo and Mary.
Okay.
And that's Bishop McQuaid's summer residence.
There's
Father Rabe, Leo Iten, this was the first communion.
uh-huh.
Now this is still down Bishop McQuaid's. This isn't the first. I've got the first communion at St. Michael's coming up.
Okay.
Right here. Mary Eaton's one of these. I've got her listed, but this was the first communion they actually gave up at St. Michael's Mission.
Something. Mission Sunday, that's nice.
Now these are great photographs because this building is still there. That's the
Mhm.
winery today. It's been added on to.
Yeah.
But here we see Ed and Leo.
Now Jaeger was their name, huh?
These guys, yes.
Yeah.
They were local kids.
Okay.
All right. Now I don't know if the father worked for the farm or just kids coming over, but they
Yeah.
were local kids. And again, that's how I found out their name is from Mary.
Yeah.
Do you know who they were?
That was so nice.
That chapel was originally going to hold 1,000 people, and they scaled it back.
There was a big plan to make that
Yeah.
a signature item. There we
Right,
are.
yeah.
We were on this side. This is
Okay.
probably before.
This is the first one
yeah,
built,
yeah.
and you'll see a lot of the construction, the stone
Yeah,
walls and
yeah.
stuff. That's a nice,
the
yeah.
grotto.
Even I never saw it in that condition.
Yeah.
We used to go up when I was a kid, once a year.
Yeah.
Everybody
What
went
year-
up this.
Yeah, what year would that have been?
About 1963.
See, I was there at that time.
Yeah. Yep.
We would have run.
We had the
would
white
run
station wagon, white Ford station
Yeah.
wagon. You get all the kids in the station wagon, and you went up and you saw the grotto,
Yeah.
and then you'd go over to towards Honeyoy Lake because you could always see herds of deer.
Interesting.
And that was kind of like
Now,
our-
did your parents take you to
Yeah.
these things?
yeah,
Like an outing,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
I know.
Didn't make any difference what religion you were.
I know.
This was such a neat thing.
See, that's an interesting point, because I know there were, my words, hordes of people that would come down from parishes in Rochester,
Right.
because they had a devotion to St. Michael.
Right.
And that was the whole intent, was to draw people and then to get them interested in the Divine Word missionaries, so that they could think
sponsor.
highly and sponsor a
Right,
priest,
sure.
and sponsor a missionary.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
interesting. Yeah, that is so nice. Yeah, the postcards, they were. Yeah, that is the nuns. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah. See, we were here. This is the novices building,
Okay.
and I think our classrooms were here. And I think the priests were here, and then the brother candidates were either in this building, and originally, brother candidates meant that they were high school students.
Okay.
When we were here, we were in the novices. We had finished 2 years college,
Mm-hmm.
spent 2 years novitiate, and then the last 2 years of college were spent here.
Wow. So did you actually get your sociology degree from here?
Yes. Well, it was a degree in philosophy.
Oh, okay.
But my sociology degree, my doctorate was in sociology from Loyola University later on. Yeah, but I took enough sociology there.
Now the barn and everything is right over here.
Now the grottos were
Grotto's
here.
right
weren't
here.
they? Yeah, that's
Grotto's
what I
right
thought,
here.
Yeah.
You got that bridge down
Yeah.
there. Well, I've got some beautiful pictures of that being built.
This is terrific, Doug.
Oh, you'll have so much fun. You just go through this, and like I said, it really. For me as a historian,
Well, it's
priceless
nostalgia.
because
It's a nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know.
this is how the place was built.
This is
what it-
nice to have these too, because
Mhm.
anything in paper is probably
fast
gone.
going. That's what I
Yeah,
tell everybody.
yeah,
Because we're going on about
Yeah.
60 years now.
Yeah.
You better get your hands on it and get your
Yeah,
hands on
yeah,
it fast.
yeah.
Because it really.
That is so nice. There's Fridolin again and,
Mhm.
and Jansen.
I
Oh,
say.
can you back up one?
Yeah.
I'll show you. This guy is an interesting person, John Musinski. I had 2 novice masters. There was 2-year novitiate. My first novice master was assigned during the first year we had him. He headed up a new mission to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
He and his brother and a couple others, they sent a group down there and started the Mexico mission. John Musinski became my novice master in the second year. Probably the most holy man I've ever met.
Oh.
He went on to become the superior general of the Divine Word missionaries. In other words, 6,000 Divine Word missionaries were under his command. And so, great person, John Musinski. I just stopped because I think highly of Musinski. He's
Yeah.
dead. And I have a...
No, I've met just a few people over my lifetime that I say they walk with God,
Yeah.
regardless of what
He was, yeah.
religion they are.
Yeah.
These are people that just embody the
Well,
spirit.
yeah,
and
and he was that kind of a person, just a gentle, honest, forthright.
we had Sister Alice down here in Rush, and I used to kid her. I said, you'd be a priest, I'd join tomorrow because she was just a wonderful person.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
just
Yeah. She exuded what you think is the best of
yes,
what should be.
it is what it should be.
Can I do something for you?
Nah, I'm just gonna move this out. I'm gonna get. I have cold water in the refrigerator. Would you like any? Also, the most important Catholic clergy I've ever met is I've met Father Martin twice. I don't know if you know who Father Martin is. He's pretty much the patron saint of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, okay.
Father Martin is the one who came out with the earliest videos and movies called Chalk Talk, which was
Okay.
the basis of modern alcoholism treatment in the United States. He actually did this for the U.S. Navy way back in 1963.
No, I did not know.
And but Father Martin is the guy that's been all over the United States.
These are great pictures. I mean, everything that, from seminarian, shots of seminarians to, as I said, here's in a brochure, one of Father John Musinski.
Okay.
That was so nice. Some more brochures,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
That's
buzzing through the pictures.
No, that's fine. Like the ones you sent me as a
And
sample.
you can see,
Yeah.
these are all the full files too.
Yeah.
Like, they're all like 10, 12 megabytes.
Okay.
Because I always scan big, because I can always reduce it later.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I want the original to be
because you
high
have more
quality.
detail.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, can you back up one?
Sure.
I know who did this. This was a Christmas card.
Oh.
This was a Christmas card. I'm almost certain it was David Misher, and I have to ask Misher.
Now, does this mean Jesus, the line of Jesus?
Well, it's Old Testament, the line of Jesse.
Okay.
If you look at, it's in one of, it's either in Proverbs or in one of the prophets. Jesse, Jesus came from David,
Right.
the line of David, and from the line of Jesse. And so this was a Christmas card that we created, you know, picking up the Old Testament theme.
One of the things they just had on Discovery or History Channel, one of those, is I'm also a Mason, you know, the Mason Brotherhood. And they go back to, you know, we've all been taught that Jesus was a carpenter. Now they're coming out and they said if you read the original Greek, he's an artisan.
Okay.
And given where he was, they showed where Jesus was, and then about 20 miles from there was this very rich Roman town.
Okay.
With all these wonderful mosaics, and they said more than likely Jesus would have been a stonemason because it wasn't much wood, but there was lots of work for people to build these. I mean palatial, the kind of mosaics that you usually only see in Roman
villages.
So they're thinking now that it's possible, and of course we get a chuckle out because there you go.
There you go. See the
Jesus
connection.
was a Mason.
Yeah, it's a connection.
Well, you know the whole thing of the Masons is our temples are supposed to represent the ground floor of King Solomon's temple, and our whole thing is built on
that premise.
8 steps, 5 steps, 3 steps, because that was supposed to be the only way that you could get into King Solomon's temple. And I joined it because, first of all, my father was a Mason, but also because as a historian, anybody who was anybody in Lima in past years was a Mason. Masons used to be a big deal for engineers. Now, it was already gone by the time I became an engineer, but a lot of engineers would have that black Masonic ring there. And you know that wasn't like it was going to guarantee you a job, but it was a good thing.
It was
right.
Put it this way, it was an introduction.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, you got to be introduced.
Now this is Nova Vita.
They took
and actually, there is a wonderful woman. She's 76 right now. She was one of their first employees over there, and I got to go over and see her and see what pictures she's got.
It'd be interesting. I'd like to find out more about her. It might be something that I'd like to interview her over the phone.
Sure. Oh, she's a wonderful person. Yeah.
So she's still alive.
Yep.
Huh?
Like I said, this guy here screwed up when he argued with Blue Shield Blue Cross.
Yeah.
If he just kept it cool. He got paid by him. He didn't think he was getting paid enough. So
that was the issue.
Yeah.
And they also had, didn't they, Doug, a restaurant there?
Yes, they did. Yeah. All natural foods, way ahead of their time.
Yeah. This is nice text.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's anything I ran across. I want things all in one place, and then what I do.
Then you take...
in my documents file, all right, is only the stuff I'm currently working on. Everything else is stored in another folder, and then when I'm working on it, I copy from here to there.
That's good.
So now I can delete anything I want,
Mhm.
because like if I was going to do up a new program, I'd simply copy this entire thing of 395 pictures up into documents. And then the first thing I'd do is go through and wipe out everything I don't want, which would probably take out about 200 photographs.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm down to 200 photographs
Yeah.
I'm going to work
That's
with.
more
Yeah.
manageable.
Well, also you don't accidentally delete something. Although
you-
I am backed up online, I tell everybody back up online.
Yeah, is it,
$50 a year for Carbonite. It works
is
great.
that what you use? I'm just
Carbonite,
curious.
yep.
Okay, Carbonite, yeah.
Yeah, it's the big boy. There's several of them out there, but Carbonite's the biggest. $50 a year. It's all automatic, and it will save your rear end. Like I said, as much as I've worked with computers for the last 25
Yeah.
years, what crashes I've had have hurt me bad. Some of them were my early digital pictures. You know, that when that hard drive crashed, I lost them, and I didn't have them backed up anyplace, and I'm just. And a lot of my pictures, again, as a historian, are in places I can't get back into. I had permission at one time to go on private property and do this, that, and the other thing. Now
And now it's gone.
Now it's
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's
I've learned,
right.
and believe me, now I'm triple backed up.
These
I'm
guys-
backed up on two
Yeah.
2 terabyte hard drives in my house,
Yeah.
and I'm backed
Those
up
are
online.
local and then
Right.
in the cloud.
Yeah.
This is the old calendars and the annuity plans.
Yep. Well, you see, in the 1880s, there were lots of religious groups
Yeah.
that formed simply because that was the only way to get any insurance.
The Knights of Columbus.
Knights of
did,
Columbus,
and,
the Masons had the
Yeah.
AOUW, was some American
the
blah blah blah
Lutherans had
of
a-
workers.
Yeah,
You know, and
and the Lutherans did too.
well, we still have it. My wife and I have insurance through Lutheran Brotherhood. I'm a terrible investor. The most money we
nice.
ever made was 11%, and that was with Lutheran Brotherhood. I've never made that much again. Okay, these
Oh, these are neat.
yeah,
So that's.
that burned down.
Is that the bishop's house?
No.
No.
Nope. I think was that the chicken barn. See, they had chickens. Right. This is the altar.
There's the altar
Yep.
in the McQuaid house.
Yeah, altar. The White House, where the Austrian nuns lived while working for the mission. They later moved to Texas.
Interesting.
And that's the other thing. Anything I have in there, it might be incorrect, let me know, too.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
all stuff that I've either read.
Yeah.
I like using newspaper articles for confirmation.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
necessarily like them as first source documents, but as confirmation, they're great. Now here we are building the
they're
buildings.
Building it. Gee, that is amazing.
And this is all limestone up here,
So what year would that have been?
1936.
36.
Yeah, this just says 209 because that's
Yeah,
when
that's
I put
when
the
you-
folder together.
Yeah.
But anything I don't have a
Any-
date on it.
Any idea where they got the limestone from?
Yeah, right here from Western New York.
Is
Right
it?
over by
Okay.
Leroy. That's where the big quarries are. That's
Okay.
why all the buildings up here
Yeah,
in Lima,
yeah.
limestone sills and stuff,
Yeah.
it was plentiful, it was cheap.
Interesting. Seminary.
Yeah, look at this.
Gun.
Yeah,
Boxing gloves.
look at this.
Football.
Got ping pong down here,
Yeah.
got a gun, football.
It looks like getting
Yeah,
ready. Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, what I point out to people is these are just guys. You know, they've
Yeah.
got families, mothers,
Yeah,
fathers.
yeah,
And they're just like any other kid
Yeah,
that's been sent
yeah.
away to school,
Yeah.
writing letters home. Here they are playing. Local kids. Those
Yeah.
are those same two boys we had before.
Playing the snow and there's skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out on,
Probably out swimming
Hemlock
at Lake
Lake.
Hemlock.
and I also point out that even though swimming wasn't allowed in Hemlock Lake, they tended to leave you guys alone.
Yeah, because I interviewed one of my classmates who's an Englishman recently in the UK,
Mhm.
and he remembers swimming across Lake Hemlock.
Yeah.
Or you call it Hemlock Lake, not Lake Hemlock.
Right.
What's the
Because
difference?
that's the way all the Finger Lakes are named. It's Seneca Lake,
the name
Keuka Lake.
the
Lake
name-
comes after.
After, so
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, rather than Lake
Lake
Geneva,
sounds- yeah.
Lake,
Yeah.
like a lot of
Yeah.
other places are. Yeah,
Lake Michigan, we wouldn't think about saying Michigan Lake. would we?
right.
Isn't that funny? Here's baseball. Looks like.
This is Bishop McQuaid's. Bishop McQuaid would come to the north end of Hemlock Lake.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, he'd go to Livonia by train from the Erie Station, right downtown Rochester, to Livonia.
Now,
6
how do
miles.
you know this?
Because I just.
You just made this up. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, no, that's what I say at the end of the presentation. Are there any questions? If I don't know the answer, I'll make something up.
Mr. Mark. So I'm sorry, I cut you
sorry.
off. So he come by train, yeah.
Well, once you get into this stuff, you
Yeah.
just can't stop.
You can't let it go.
Yeah.
It's like so he'd come by train and
he'd take a buggy
From-
6 miles
from
from
Livonia
Livonia to Hemlock Lake
Yeah.
Park, where the
Yeah.
park is now.
Yeah.
There was a pier. He'd get on the steamship. Steamship would bring him to here,
You're
and
kidding.
here would be a buggy and horse waiting for him, and they would bring him up the hill, up to a summer residence.
God. What a
And
great
I have
story.
handwritten accounts.
Yeah.
Apparently, Bishop McQuaid was a nice guy.
Was he?
They said they would, local farmers would see him walking at night, like if he came
Yeah.
too late to get
Yeah.
a stage or something, he'd just be walking along. And, hey, Bishop, you want to ride? Yeah, sure.
Interesting. Cutting wood.
Yeah, now these would have been the farm workers.
Yeah.
No OSHA back then.
I was going to say, yeah. Look
Yeah.
at this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yay.
One of the seminarians.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got pictures of the up. Did you ever go in the upstairs and sleep? They have beds up there. I have pictures of that. You'll see. Again, just beautiful,
Yeah.
black and white. As a photographer, I just love
Yeah.
black and white.
Oh, I agree.
And I tell everybody it's too bad because even I don't do it anymore. But I mean, if you really wanted pictures
Mhm.
that were going to stand the test of time, it would be
This is the
black
way
and
to
white.
do it,
Yeah.
because the color will fade, even color.
Once black and white is fixed, it's really fixed.
Mhm.
Color, hard to really fix because at the subatomic level, there's still a chemical process
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with it. Now, we think we fixed it by digitalizing to an extent we have, yeah.
Who knows down the road?
But black and white is just wonderful.
Feeding, that's a sheep.
No, we
Sheep
got a
and
little,
cow?
we got a
Is it
little
two
goat
cows?
and a cow.
That's a
Just
goat.
goofing around. And like I said, this really humanizes all these guys.
Yeah.
These are just guys
Yeah.
at school.
Yeah, yeah. That is terrific.
The buds are all hanging out.
Yeah.
And I get oohs and ahs from the ladies when I show them the pictures of the guys swimming.
Mm. There's Brother Francis. Remember we said
Yep. I've got them
Missionary,
misspelled too. I'll
missionary.
have to go back and fix that. Whoop.
that's the one you
Yep.
sent me, the one after here.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you sent me that one.
Brother Ignatius.
See, remember we talked about
Yep.
Ignatius? He was on the list. We could probably.
And this is Bishop McQuaid's summer residence.
Is it?
So you
Yeah.
can see it was still around when they were
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find out exactly when it burned,
Yeah.
and I'll have to search the newspaper files and stuff. Brother Fridolin, Brother Ignatius again. Eisenberger.
Yeah, Weissenberger. He's in the list here. Yeah, he went on to become like a provincial.
This is when they're starting to build the grotto.
Oh.
Most people have never seen these and didn't know how it was done.
It was actually
building
done.
that wooden frame.
Yeah.
And I tell them it's just like they used to build bridges that way
Yeah.
too. They would build and that's what that keystone is. That's the last stone to go
It gets
into.
put in place.
And it exerts. And again,
Terrific.
being an engineer, and I love
You-
physics,
you
and I explained to them on how
Cathedrals are
yeah.
built, yeah.
Oh, the buttress. I mean, really, what we did when they came out with the cathedrals was just unbelievable. Because I explained to them that if you were just going to use conventional building, if you had a 30-foot high, say, stone wall around a city in medieval times, you'd need a base that was about 100 feet high in order to support it. I said, because that's just the laws of physics.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you can't undo that. You have to find a way to accommodate.
Here's Bishop McQuaid's summer residence.
Boy, that was a good size.
Yes, it was.
Now
this
burned
is
down.
this is the other
winery?
one that burned.
Okay.
This burned down. The winery would be out here a
Out
little
here,
bit.
okay.
The lake is back here.
Mhm. So he had two kind of residences.
Well, this later, and I'm trying to think what she said. They later called it the chicken house or the chicken coop, or you know
Okay.
what they converted it. What it was before, I don't really know. But this is the bishop's place, and as you can see, all the private quarters.
I wonder, after the SVDs bought Conesus, did the bishop continue to come down?
Yes.
Okay, until he died.
As
probably.
far as I know, yes.
I'll have to find out.
Well,
if
yeah,
he died.
because Bishop McQuaid died in 13, but we had other bishops after
Yes,
that.
yeah.
All of them, as far as I know, and there's a
Yeah.
diocese book from Rochester. I got to read more.
Yeah. About the history of the.
Yeah,
If you find the name of that, could you send me that?
I will.
Because I'll tell you why.
It was written about 56 or so, and that's where he gets into the problems with the lawyer and some other things that they were embarrassed about. And what the hell was it? The lawyer did all this work for him. They thought it was being done pro grado, and the lawyer ended up charging him 20 grand,
Charging the diocese. SVDs?
20,000, and I guess took him to court. And the guy writes in there how disappointed they were because this was a good guy and known him for years. And
I would like to, if you give me the
Yeah.
name of that book, I'd like to be able to try to find that, you know.
yeah, it was written. I can't remember. It might even come up in here, just the
Okay.
faceplate
Yeah,
of it.
okay. Look at that.
Yep, this is how they built it.
And you have a list of what other grottos, just
Yes,
because
yes.
I'd love,
Yeah.
just
He
to
built 3 of
confirm
them.
that.
He
Yeah.
built 3 of them.
Barn for sheep. Look at that. Look at that gold.
This is the original winery.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew about the Goring cousin that was the wine master? Hermann Goring's cousin?
No.
Yes. Hermann Goring, the
The
infamous
German-
Nazi, his cousin was the winemaker. And the FBI came here and interviewed him and determined that, you know, he just happens to be a cousin. But
no-
for a while, you know, you can imagine the kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
panic it might have
Yeah.
set up. Oh, I don't know if
Would
I
that
have
have
it.
been during World War
Yeah,
II?
yeah. I don't know if I have it in here or not, but I have a letter, and if I don't have it in here, I will scan it and get it to you. They actually write about what do we do. It was the day they declared war on Germany, and I guess they had 3 or 4 German nationals up there. And they were wondering, what do we do?
Yeah. See, the same thing happened in China and Japan. The connections, and in New Guinea, because many of the missionaries, early ones, were German.
Yeah.
And they end up in places that...
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, the war's broken out. You're a German national. One of the things, and I do this as a veteran, and I love doing it as a combat veteran. I have the quote from Rudyard Kipling, whose son was killed in World War
yes.
One. He wrote, "Ask not why we," tombstones, and his quote was, "Ask not why we died. Ask why our fathers lied." And it's about this glorifying of war. That every nation, that you're the good guy. God's always on your side.
God made us. God is with us.
And you're going to go kill the other guy.
Yeah.
And
Well, what's his God saying?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, especially when the Germans were praying to the same God, But
That is amazing.
I tell people my turning point and where history saved my rear end was I gave a presentation several years ago. It was on my tombstones. And after the presentation, one of the women in the crowd, and there was a whole bunch of Boy Scouts there because they were interested in cemetery restoration. And she asked me, well, why did I ever get involved in cemeteries? And I started to tell her that the reason I got involved was I went out initially to find all the Vietnam veterans that had died in Vietnam. And I couldn't get the word Vietnam out of my mouth. And I just broke down, started crying. And that was this thing that said, I've got some issues here. This is 40 years after the fact.
Still bothers.
It was amazing that, it still got this grip on me.
Yeah.
But I also tell, especially because I was a Marine, most Marines are nuts. I was glad the Boy Scouts was there because that's what I wanted them to see.
Mm-hmm.
Not that, oh yeah, we kicked their ass.
Yes,
but
there's-
I want them to grow up and say, you know, I saw a guy that was in the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't look too good.
Yeah.
You know, so we start telling these guys the truth. There is no glory in war.
Yeah.
You will not fight for your country or for your president or your whomever. You're going to fight for you and your buddies.
Mm-hmm.
You're there to do one thing. The Marine Corps taught us, they always, we're not teaching you to fight.
Mm.
We're teaching you to kill.
Mm-hmm.
There is no good guy in
Yeah.
a war. If the other guy runs out of bullets, you know what you do? You kill him.
Yeah, you don't embrace them.
Right. Yeah. Because this is what war is. It's terrible.
Well,
And like I said, so many of these Marines come back, and of course now that they're out,
mm-hmm.
or now that, in fact, I tell people, you know how to spot the phony veteran? He's the one with the war stories. Because a real combat
They
veteran
won't say.
you can't get it out. It's like pulling nails.
I had 3 uncles that served
Yep.
in World War II. And
Yeah, very hard to
Yeah.
get them to talk about
They'll never
because
talk
it's
about
not pleasant.
Yeah.
Even though some funny things did happen. I
not
tell
gonna
everybody
get their
the best
memoirs.
picture we ever took in Vietnam. We just come back from a patrol, so we're all duded up in our face
Yeah.
paint, and we had all our crap on, the
Mm.
bandoliers, and we were still in the bush, but we all held up. Now go back to 1969. Schlitz was one of the biggest selling beers in the United
Mhm.
States.
Yeah, yeah.
We all had a can of Schlitz. And so we took that photograph and sent it to Schlitz. We said, even in Vietnam, when you're out of Schlitz,
Schlitz,
you're
yeah.
out of beer.
Yeah.
Well, they wrote us back a letter and they said it was wonderful. They'd love to use it, but as an active military personnel, you can't endorse anything.
Oh,
But that was the best picture I said we ever took.
Yeah.
The other thing I do with my pictures when I do bring them out, I said, look at them. They're kids.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with movies. They make a movie and all those actors are 30, 35 years old. I was 18 and a
These
half.
are, yeah, in some
When you
cases,
look
yeah.
at my pictures, we're teenagers.
Yeah.
That's who fought in Vietnam. We had a sergeant there that was 24 and married. We thought he was old.
Yeah.
We thought that was,
Yeah, the end of the,
right, because we were all 18, 19, single.
Mhm.
But like I said, over the years, I've really enjoyed using my military experience. And I said, I have no animosity whatsoever against the Vietnamese because they were just doing what their government told them to do.
Yeah, they were as much,
Right.
victims as we were
Right.
towards them,
And I said, and this has happened from the beginning of time, that we send our young men off and we lie to them.
And they die for
Yeah.
us, yeah.
And it has to be young men because you haven't formed any values yet.
Yeah.
See, if you were an older man with kids and a wife,
You
your
might
values,
say, hey,
yeah,
let's look at this again. Why
Yeah.
are we going?
yep,
Yeah. Oh, this is neat. There's
horses,
on the
cows.
Oh, there's an interesting one, yeah.
I have him identified later.
Gosh, yeah.
Look at this
Yeah.
seminary in the background.
They're on the back, yeah.
Eh,
Hey, making fun of them all.
Father Luke.
Luke, yeah. Wonder if he was, that was 39?
Yep. Because they just finished building 2 of the buildings. What I call the administration building, you said where the
Yeah.
brothers stayed, and the building next to it. Look at this guy here. When I give my presentation, I always tell him, that's the guy from The Exorcist. Because he looks exactly like Max
Yeah,
von Sydow
yeah,
in the
yeah.
film.
Yeah. Is that Aubrey? That might be Hugo Aubrey. Be interesting to find out.
Hang on,
Might be somebody.
that's a gorgeous shot. The vineyards.
Oh,
All this
yeah.
is gone now.
Yeah,
the way-
so there's no vineyard there at all anymore.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, there's an Eagle Crest
So Eagle Crest still.
is the remnant
Yeah, of
of the
that.
vineyard.
And they still.
But this was
actually-
right across from your
Okay,
buildings.
yeah, yeah,
all right?
yeah.
And this is all gone now.
Yeah, okay. It's a nice view of the lake too, isn't it?
Well, this is state forest now. It's been turned over to the state of New York.
Yeah. Is that right?
So now it is forever going to be this pristine.
Nice. That's the way
It will not
should
be developed. It is a state forest, not a state park,
Mhm.
but a state forest. It'll
Mhm.
stay in the most primitive condition that it can.
Well, what about the group that's there now? If they ever leave, what
Uh, Oh, I'm sure it'll get sold to somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
So the state won't take that away.
I wish they would.
Eminent domain.
Oh, I wish they would.
Yeah.
Looks like a manure spreader or something maybe behind the horses.
Gosh,
Here we go. Here's you're right, Father Aubrey.
looks like Aubrey. Yeah.
Yep. That's building the next building, or the first building. This
Yeah.
is the one you said where the brothers
Yeah,
lived.
yeah.
Here would be the stone wall.
Yeah, around the front.
Yeah.
And,
There's a bunch of them.
gosh, yeah.
Now this guy here, he's in a lot of the pictures as a student, and I'm just wondering.
He probably became a novice.
Okay,
and took vows.
and then was able to. What did
Yeah.
you call the clothes?
Cassocks.
Cassocks. Okay.
Cassocks, yeah.
All right.
And the thing he wore around that held it in place is called a cincture. It's like a band, and it had things on it to keep it tight.
Now, as a novice,
Yeah.
he is still a student.
He still could. We were considering.
He's got the
student-
next
yeah, 'cause he's got
level to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Novices, you were a novice, then you took your first vows, and you were in first vows for a number of years. You would renew it every September,
Mhm.
and then finally you took your what was called your final vows, which meant that it was supposed to be a life commitment. And that's good. Gosh.
Puppy dog.
Yeah. Out on the lake.
Yep.
Yeah, we had
Goats.
saying mass.
That I
Yeah.
think is up in your buildings. I don't
Okay,
think that's
already.
because of these benches. I've got some
Yeah.
wonderful pictures. You're gonna like
That,
them.
yeah, that might be some of the small chapels.
Oh, you had more than one chapel?
Yeah, because the novices had a chapel, and then there
Oh,
was
okay.
what people refer to as the chapel. We always, well, I guess we called it. Did we call it the chapel too, St. Michael's? It was big enough to be a church.
Okay.
But because there was novices were kind of isolated
Okay.
from the rest.
Really?
We had our own chapel.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, novices meant that you kind
So
of.
it's almost like you had two institutions there. You had
Exactly.
this educational
thing
facility.
between,
Yeah.
you know, and then you became a novice, and you were isolated for 2 years, and then you rejoined your junior and senior college years. On the other side of the church were the brother candidates who
Mhm.
were high schoolers, and I don't know if there was a brother novitiate there. They were separate.
Okay.
The seminarians who were studying for the priesthood were educated separate from the lay brothers. Today,
But
that's
did you
not
all
true.
know each other? Or
Yes
is it kind of
and
like
no.
high school?
Yes
The
and no.
seniors might know
Yeah.
a few of the freshmen,
Exactly.
but not very many of them.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
And plus there was a non-fraternization rule.
All right.
In other words,
Like the military,
yeah.
NCOs
Yeah, exactly.
stay separate from the
Novices-
E3s and below.
Yeah, high schoolers and novices,
Mhm.
even though you were beyond 2 years college as a novice, were basically the shit of the earth.
Mhm.
It'd be like basic
Yeah,
training.
right.
Except our novitiates were for 2 years, not for like whatever basic
Now-
training is.
During your time there, did you ever have? Is it like the Abbey of the Genesee, where
Okay,
they
I know
have
that.
daily call to prayers,
Oh,
one in
yeah.
the morning, one
Yeah.
at night?
We don't, the Divine Word Missionaries, we're not a monastic order like that.
Okay.
But we did get up early. I think, I have to go back and look at what I remember the schedule. I think as a novice we got up at 5:30, and lights were out, supposed to be out by 9
I will
o'clock.
make you a copy
Hmm.
of the presentation. I'll send it to you.
Hmm.
The head
Abbott.
Abbott.
Abbott at the.
Right. He's a ball breaker. You can't believe this guy. He
Yeah.
gave a presentation on the.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like a comedian. Yeah.
Now, where is that from here?
That's
Is that-
Pafard,
Yeah,
over by
Pafard.
Geneseo.
Yeah, because I know we went there on a trip too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he came, and he's so hilarious
Mhm.
because his last name is a big, long Polish name.
Okay.
But he said when his great grandfather or whatever came to this country,
He shortened it.
they
Yeah.
ran out of room on the thing
So
of
they-
immigration to write the whole name, so that's what they ended up with. It was
Who
this-
knows? It could have been longer, a lot
Yeah.
longer, huh?
But he tells, you know,
Hmm.
And he was a great presentation. Again, putting this human face on a somewhat mysterious, secretive,
organization.
right? You know.
Well, the Trappists are you're very strict. If you want to see an interesting, well, 2 movies, and I can send you the names of them. One is called Into Great Silence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a French movie, and you would enjoy it because
Let me see if I got any coffee left here.
oh,
You want anything?
yeah. If you have any more coffee,
I'm gonna make some more if I don't.
The guy that made this is the Grand Trap. You know, they
Right.
make the liquor in France.
Yep.
And there was a German filmmaker that wanted to make a movie of a year in the life of, let's say.
Okay. Yeah.
And he kept writing to the abbot,
Right.
And I'm making the number up, Doug, but let's say it was more than 10 years. He kept asking. And then out of the blue, he gets a call, a letter from the abbot says, if you still want to do it, come today.
Wow.
And so he did, and he, Into Great Silence, or Into
Yeah.
Grand Silence, is about a year in the life of these Trappists.
Wow.
And there's very little dialogue.
Yep.
You just hear nature, you hear laughter, you hear God knows
Well,
what.
the head abbot was kidding about that. He says,
Yeah.
they said, are you allowed to speak? Oh yeah, we're allowed to yell fire.
Yeah. Run.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
says, we don't take it that serious.
Yeah,
There are times when you're able to shout out as loud as you want.
I'll send you a couple of pictures. After my youngest daughter got married in November, and this British friend of mine that I talked about came over with his wife for the wedding, and then Mick and I went up to the famous Trappist monastery in the United States, is the one at Gethsemane in Kentucky, because
Oh.
that's where Thomas Merton,
Yes.
who was then
Oh.
killed in Thailand,
Yeah. And the
electrocuted.
conspiracy theories
Oh,
on that.
yeah,
Yeah, I read.
yeah.
That was very, very
Right.
interesting because the CIA was there at the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and Merton's view on our involvement in
He was,
Vietnam.
he was an
But
anti.
he wrote a life.
He wrote a book. Well, he wrote a number of books, but one of them is something of a guilty bystander.
Okay.
But yeah, he was anti.
Well, for me as a non-Catholic,
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at the number of people over the years that have been these revolutionaries,
Oh.
these on the cutting edge, progressive.
Sometimes very conservative. I mean, the church is like a big tree
Yeah.
where many different kinds of birds
Yeah.
could roost. But anyway, so Mick and I went up to the monastery. I mean, Merton's been dead now since '68. Anyway, there's an SVD who decided he didn't want to be a missionary anymore, wanted to be a Trappist. He published. He was in New Guinea, came back. He published at Techni many of the newspapers, magazines the SVDs were responsible for. In the early '60s, he says, "I don't think the active life is my calling. I think it's the contemplative life." He went to Gethsemane. Thomas Merton was his novice master.
Oh, wow.
Even though this priest was ordained.
Mm-hmm.
Later in life, before Merton went to Thailand and died in that freak accident, he was Thomas Merton's confessor.
Wow.
This guy was still alive when Mick and I went up there in November. By January of 2011, he was dead. And I have some pictures of Mick and I with this guy, and I'll send them to you if you'd like to see them.
Oh, that'd be super. Yeah.
That's a neat abbey. If you're ever in Kentucky near Louisville, it's about 20 miles off, I guess
Well, when
it's
I went to
61.
school at Nazareth College,
Yeah.
that was interesting too,
Yeah.
because a lot of my
That
professors.
used to be all girls.
All
right?
girls.
Yeah, is this still?
Oh no, coeducational. One of the best values in the United States.
Is that right?
U.S. News and World ranks it like number 5 or 6. But what made it great is because I was an older student
Yeah.
then. Some of our professors were former nuns who actually went there in the '60s when I used to date girls that went down there.
Yeah.
Almost every town has. We had the one girl out here, father on the deathbed. I want you to become a nun. She became a nun.
And
it didn't work out.
Second thoughts.
Yeah, it lasted about 10 years. You know, but you know, some of these nuns were wild. I mean, because they were active during the anti-war movement.
Sure.
One of my professors is probably one of the most religious guys I've ever met. He's not a brother or anything like that. He's a sociology professor, Harry Brown. But this is the guy who's chained himself to when we used to store the nukes over here in Romulus.
Yeah.
You know, he's been arrested. He's famous for he taught an entire semester at Nazareth while under arrest and in jail. They released him from the jail every day to come to school and teach. And after teaching, he went back to the school.
Well, you know the Berrigan brothers.
Yeah.
You know, they're another example. Recently, Father Burgoyes, you know, the Maryknoller down our way at the School of the Americas down in Columbus, Georgia, where they're training theoretically, you know, Latin American dictator, whatever. Anyway,
okay,
move on.
It's all fascinating.
It is. Now we'll have plenty.
Now here's a picture of the.
Yeah. See,
look
the main. This must have been Christmas time.
Yep. There's the Christmas trees.
And there's the, looks like, I wonder if that's the...
Well, one of the things I do in my presentation, I point out the similarities between these guys being in school and my experience in Vietnam. You would have seen the same type of pictures. Here we had this, I tell her, the most memorable Christmas tree I ever had was in 1969, 6 miles from the DMZ. It was one of those little aluminum, like I said, one of the guys' families had sent them. But I said, look at this is what we do as Americans.
Yeah.
You know, we group together around these special occasions.
These holidays, these holy days, That is terrific.
Look at how beautiful it is, though.
Yeah, that's a card out of history.
Father
Deppy. Yeah, I know Father Deppy. He was still alive when I was there. Anton Deppy. That is so nice.
Yeah, because only someone in the class could ever get these pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, someone would have to have been there taking these. At that time, if you notice, the priest had his back to the people. After Vatican II, he turned around the other side. So these are altar servers that are assisting the priest celebrating Mass. That's amazing. Yeah, somebody in the community was taking all these pictures.
Father Deppy.
Father Deppy again. Yeah,
with the football.
He was he taught music too.
This was right across this road from your buildings. He was up on the roof taking this.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So the
see
lake
the nuns?
Is the lake down
See
there?
the nuns?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lake's down there.
Down there.
Yep, this is where you guys used to play baseball.
Yeah. These were the fields.
All gone now, or drawn over, I should say. But I just thought this shot was so cool. Look at the nuns. He's up on the roof.
Taking that picture. There's those more animals.
And there's Bishop McQuaid's summer residence. Here the guys are playing football.
There's
I love these pictures.
Kitchens,
yeah.
Shows there's no difference, you know. And we used to work in the kitchens too. We did, the scullery. You know, you'd peel potatoes. Must be ice skating or something there. When do you think this era is?
Oh, I know when it is. It's all 1936 to 1941.
Okay, so these...
Any of these pictures I have
or in that
from
era.
that scrapbook are done at 1941.
I wonder what happened.
And then whatever
photos
pictures
after
that are
in
here otherwise, those are pictures I might have gotten from Mary Iten or from somebody else.
If you ever on eBay see someone offering photos, let me know, because I might be willing to spend.
In 20 years,
Yeah.
This is the only time.
See, I figured it.
Yeah. Yeah, that as soon as I read the description, I knew what it was, and there was no doubt that I had to have it. Actually, I no longer have the originals. I sold the scrapbook to another collector.
Mm-hmm.
I figured once I got
Once you got your use out of
my
it.
scans, I
Yeah.
mean, that's,
Yeah.
I'm after information.
Yeah.
And this was a very religious guy that I, well, okay, you know.
Do you know, was he trying to complete a collection? I'm
No.
just curious. No.
Not that, oh, he collects all of Western New York.
Okay, so it wasn't like a religious order, it was more geography. I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
more geography.
Yeah, related, because the thing would be, if he has others, it'd be interesting if he would allow somebody to scan whatever he has. I'm only interested not so much in the geography part,
In the religious part.
in the society part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug, this is nice of you. Let me put this spoon away so I don't
We had
on your table.
a lot of those occurrences with our Irish in Lima too. Very good friends of mine, their name was Rollins, but apparently when their ancestor came to the United States, they gave them the English spelling instead of the
Well,
Irish spelling, so they all...
there was an interesting name I saw earlier. Remember the two little kids by the name of Jaeger?
Yes.
There were an SBD family that grew up very close, about 17 miles in Iowa, where I'm from. There were three brothers or two brothers that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
Their name was Jaeger too, except during, I don't know when, they changed their name to Hunter. Now this is that anti-German,
Oh, absolutely.
because Jaeger in English is a hunter.
Oh.
A hunter in German.
Oh, Jägermeister.
Is Jägermeister, yeah.
Oh, I've heard the term, you know, on the Travel Channel or something like that.
And so the connection with names sometimes, war, enemy, whoever, dictates how people are called.
Oh, yeah. My wife's grandfather
Yeah.
attended the German Lutheran Church. Dansville had two Lutheran churches.
Mm.
One was English speaking,
Yeah.
one was German,
Yeah.
and they spoke in German until 1918. And then because of
Wow.
World War I, that was it. The German Lutheran Church moved or merged
With the
and there was
English-speaking.
also a German Catholic church there too.
Yeah, see,
that
like the one
had
I grew
to-
up in.
Right, same thing. It was just.
But see, as a child, I learned my prayers from my great-grandmother, and I learned them in German. Vater unser, der du bist in Himmel.
My wife understands German, doesn't
Yeah.
speak it, because her grandmother used to speak German around the house.
That's.
And my wife still has relatives in Germany.
Does she?
She has cousins and uncles. At one time, they were behind the Iron Curtain.
So
And
they
now they're-
were in Eastern Germany.
Yeah.
Mine are more on the other side. We're Alsatian, French German. So Coburg,
Yeah.
Strasbourg, depends on who won the war.
Yeah.
Whether it really was. Borders shift.
Yeah.
If you're.
Yeah. I tell everybody, there was no Germany as we know it today till
It
about
doesn't
1878,
exist,
and
yeah.
that's when Bismarck came in.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of my wife's ancestors, another German, not this family that's still there, he was called a 48er. That was because in 1848 Germany was going through the Civil War, and a lot of guys just said, "To hell with you."
We're leaving.
And he walked through France, and got on a
Got a
ship,
boat and came to
the United
America.
States.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting in that war.
Yeah. Well, that's how my relatives, my mother's side, came from the Alsace. 1870. The Franco-Prussian War.
Oh yeah.
They hated war. I
Yeah.
mean, they were always
But these were long wars too,
Yeah,
10-year
yeah,
wars. I
yeah.
mean, just
horrendous.
unbelievable.
That is so neat.
That's just the
Brother
thing on the
Fridolin,
back,
yeah.
Here's the guys all
Students,
dressed
huh?
up.
Ice hockey.
Yep.
There you go. Boy, the lake is treacherous in winter, and
Yeah.
there's that nice view.
Yes,
You know?
because you couldn't get this today because it's
Yeah.
so overgrown. And yeah, Look at this.
What's he doing? Holding on to him?
No, he's getting ready to slap him in the rear end.
Okay.
He's down there getting a drink.
Okay, I see what it is. Good God, in winter.
There's a gorgeous picture, yeah. And only rarely do we get the fog over the lake like that. Conditions gotta be just right.
So that would have been a classic.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's all got to do with humidity and air layers.
Yeah. See, I don't remember that.
And there's a high pressure area up here pushing this
pushing
down.
it down.
Now here's this guy that we've seen over and over and over again. This, they're on the other side of the lake and they're putting an arrow where the seminary is.
Oh, okay. First picture taken of our mission house.
From across the lake.
Okay.
Which is why I always scan in if there's any writing by the original source.
Yeah.
This is why this is first source, original source stuff. I always scan it in so that if I happen to get it wrong, maybe somebody 20 years from now can look at this and say, oh no, that's not what they meant. They meant such and such. Here's the guys getting ready to go swimming. Another one while it's being built.
Oh, I forget. This was through 1941.
Through 1941.
And starting when you think, 36?
36.
Terrific. Because I'll forget that detail.
I also have, and it's on your disc, everything is separated by categories.
Okay.
So there's like one file for brothers, one file for grotto,
nice.
one file
You've
for
organized
lake.
it that way.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had to, there were so many I had to get them into groups so I could work
That's
with.
good. That is good. Thank you. See, there's seminarians. And that is neat.
Thing of it is, this looks like an older picture. Those look awfully modern for 1940, but they could be.
Yeah, you never know, you know.
Now this is period.
That's typical.
Right, right, because everybody wore vests back then.
Yeah.
But like I said, when a lot of the people see it, boy, these guys were smiling. I said, yeah, they're a pretty happy group, I guess. You know,
There was, you know, I can honestly say, even as a novice, hard though the life was, like there's picking grapes. It was the 3 years I spent there was probably some of the happiest, most joyful time of my life. You know, and it was hard. I mean, you know, you worked hard, you prayed hard, and you played hard.
Yeah.
You know.
And again, it's like the military experience. You see so many veterans come back and say they have never had relationships with other men.
Well, that's it.
Like they had with men
were.
that they were stationed with.
And
they miss a lot of that camaraderie, which is why you have the American Legion, the VFW, and these other things spring up.
Because they can find an outlet.
Well, also, similar experiences. No one's ever going to understand what you went through like somebody else who went through it, too.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to understand, say, the Vietnam experience like someone who went through the Vietnam.
Your Frau won't, you know.
So, you know, you just, and this is one of my best ones. And again, my love with black and white. Look at, you know, this is just a kid with a cheap camera.
Yeah.
That's what I point out.
Yeah.
This is a cheap Kodak.
Yeah.
You know, remember you used to have to wind them?
Yeah.
This is
to
a cheap,
advance the frame.
Yeah, this is a cheap Kodak camera. And look at the pictures he took. Put in the newspapers and magazines.
That's the instruction. Oh, there's the winery,
Yep.
the bottles. Is it possible to get a couple bottles of Oneida nearby?
Oh, I'm sure it is, yeah. Well, you want to go up and see the seminary, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go right to the winery.
Okay. Because I want to do that. And I want to share something with you. When we go to the seminary, I have made contact with a guy.
Okay.
And got permission for...
Super.
Now, he's not expecting you, so I'm going to call him before we go and say, my wife couldn't come. But it was rather interesting. And this only happened in the last, since I've been on the road. That's why I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. As of yesterday, before we left Cape Cod, I called this fellow, Travis.
Yeah, Travis.
Travis, you know him?
I've got the name written down.
Yeah.
And I've got the phone number. I left him a message. He never contacted
Is that right?
me. So.
Well, I actually, first time I talked with him, he picked up the phone and I explained what I wanted to do. He, up until yesterday, when I called him before we started coming your direction, he had only talked to, what he said, one of the 4 directors.
Mm-hmm.
The one he had talked to said it would be okay, the others didn't. And I said, well, I'd like to come tomorrow afternoon, meaning today.
Uh-huh.
And he said, well, I'll try to get hold of the others. And I'll call you after lunch. Well, we were in the car
Mm-hmm.
around Binghamton,
Mm-hmm.
like at 3:30 or so, and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was him. And he said it'd be okay to come by.
Wow.
So, and then Dolly, as I said, my wife said,
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
Yeah, yeah, it's,
So, I'm either going to do two things. I'm going to lie and say you're my brother,
okay.
or I'm probably going to do the opposite. I'm probably going to say, I told him I had to see someone in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say, you
I would
you're a
I would
historian.
refer to me as a fellow church
Interesting.
historian.
Okay,
Don't
yeah.
let on
another
that I'm
position.
local. Because
Okay.
there's a lot more animosity towards locals than
is that
there.
right?
Yeah, it's because they're a pretty secretive bunch and they want to keep
Yeah.
it that way.
But I want you to be able to go back there on your own.
Oh, well, I am a church historian because
Yeah.
I do the histories of all the churches in Lima.
And you don't have to tell them where you actually live.
Right. Yeah.
Why don't I say that? You're a church historian that I ran into, and that decided that you were interested, you wanted to come
And,
along.
you know, and honestly, I say I've taken courses at
Yeah.
Colgate Divinity, which I have.
But you
Never
know,
been down there. That's a great school.
I'm going to tell you, when you look at the website of one of the parts of this group,
Vision of the
well, this is the one called,
and yeah.
it.
Did you see the one where the devil comes out on stage?
No,
It's
no.
like one of those scary houses
No.
that the
Well, this other one, this website that this Trevor's associated with, or Travis, I have to
Yeah,
make certain I
Trav.
get his name, is almost like a secular religion. They're out there doing good things worldwide, but I can't even find
They
a mention
also-
of
they also-
Christian.
mention they offer extreme extraction services, which is a mercenary group, which is why our
Okay.
local sheriff is interested in them.
that.
Not that they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
They only come up here once every summer and they train in the woods out back for about 2 weeks. But our sheriff knew nothing about this, and any kind of paramilitary.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is right on the internet. They advertise extreme
If you have
extraction.
any other links, I'll
I
share
do.
the ones
I
I
do.
have.
Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Vision of the Nations.
Yes, that's their official
Vision of the
name,
Nations.
out of Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah, and
But I traced them on the internet because I'm pretty good on the internet. And what you see is the same people, and they're involved in land.
there's 4 of them.
They're
4
involved
directors,
in homeowners associations in California, Arizona. So when I first latched onto this, I thought, well, maybe this is kind of like a tax thing, but they
Yeah.
pay taxes.
I saw the tax register for your county.
They pay $188 a year.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money
they're the largest tax
for
the
parent.
county.
At one time, they had apartments up there, and they had
okay.
people living there.
I think they still
because
have people living
from Dansville, the Head Start program people were going up there for the children. I haven't heard of that being done. I don't know if there's any contact with anybody who lives up there. But like I said, when I started backtracking this organization, and it goes all the way back to the Philippines, that's where the scary videos are. I mean,
I want to see links to that.
oh God, yes. Like I said, the only thing I can compare it to is these end of world cults.
Well, that's why I wondered if maybe he wasn't returning my call, because the 25th was supposed to be
Oh,
the
yeah.
end time.
Yeah. I was kidding
I'm
people.
gonna- no,
on
I'm
eBay,
gonna-
now this is true. On eBay, they said before the date came, it said, end of the world special. Buy today, and I promise to ship it before Saturday.
yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Oh yeah. Well, here's how I'm going to present this.
Oh, God.
I don't care what they do.
Uh-huh.
I just want to be able to walk the property and take a
Me
few
too.
photos.
No. You know,
I'm not here to judge what you
right,
do.
no.
I
I
just
don't
wanna
care.
see-
I'm glad the buildings are still there.
I'm here to do a history.
Yeah.
And you're part of that history in modern times.
Right.
That's my take
Yeah.
on
And
this.
as far as, and the only way I represent them in my presentations, I say it's currently owned by another Christian group.
Yeah.
I don't know much about them.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
probably
yeah.
fair. That's as
Yeah.
far as it gets, you know.
yeah, because they have the cross and, you know.
See, that's what I wonder about, what Christian means to them. But anyway, we won't
Yeah.
second guess. So, oh, neat. Look at, can you
Yeah.
imagine with a wheelbarrow in your cassock? He's probably supervising.
Yeah.
that group.
I think they would have had work details in
Yeah.
among the
Well,
study.
we did that. That was
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah, we worked every day. There was manual labor
Yep.
every day. Period of manual labor.
There's a gorgeous shot looking down from the roof again. This is the old driveway.
Oh, yeah. Who's out in the fields?
Yeah, playing baseball. This is great. This is down at Hemlock Fair.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's, if it isn't labeled here, it's labeled in
On
a
the
separate.
back?
No, it's
Oh.
labeled in a separate category.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the main file. This is everything I've got.
Oh, okay. That's where we're working.
And then in the
Then there's
folders,
subfolders.
right, in the subfolders, it'll have at the Hemlock Fair, blah, blah, blah. Whatever I happen to know about it when I did this individual frame.
Neat.
I've blown this up, have no idea where this one is. It's a real estate office, but I can't place it for any place around here, so what, here's a guy
Must have been
waiting,
cold.
Yeah.
Look at that.
baseball.
Mhm.
Well, you can see, you know, most of these
Yeah,
still
they're
have
still-
the corners on
And
it.
that's how they came in a
Yeah.
photo album like
Mhm.
that, huh? Yeah, that is so neat. That looks like one of the, that face looks like a Burke. There were a couple Burkes
Mhm.
in the society. Kevin.
Fooling around. Now they're over at Conesus Lake,
Yeah, look
at
at here.
McPherson's Point.
Okay.
And like I said, in my other folder,
You'll
it'll
have
say
that
that.
identified.
McPherson Point and hockey, McPherson's Point.
Why would they have gone over there, do you think?
Because first of all, McPherson's Point was a place that, well, not during the winter, but it was almost like a public park.
Okay.
Alright, and the ice over at Conesus might have been, it might have been just a nice day trip,
Okay.
get away, don't have to walk down to the lake and walk back up. There might have been other groups that they played hockey with over there.
That's true, because we used to play
Well, you see, we
intramural.
still had Genesee Wesleyan Seminary.
Yeah, and we played some bigger schools in football, real football.
So did Genesee. Genesee
Yeah.
would play Rochester high
Yeah,
schools.
yeah.
Because you played wherever they had a
Yeah,
comparable
yeah,
team.
Yeah.
But these guys, I'm pretty sure, just the pictures I have, it's just them.
Yeah.
I have that picture straightened out too. This is pretty neat, just handing them off the mail. And again, my veteran experience, where
Mhm.
this you see this on board a ship and
Yeah,
in an
yeah.
army post, wherever across the world, mail call is all
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Father Rabe.
Yeah.
Now he was later the head of the school, wasn't he?
I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at what his relationship was, because I don't know him. He was in front of the grotto.
Throwing snowballs.
Good gosh.
Yeah, and like even all the sports pictures are in one subfolder saying
Mhm.
sports.
Mhm.
So the football, the
Yeah,
baseball,
we're all organized.
all in one
yeah.
place. Well, it makes it easier to keep track of the guys,
Mhm.
seeing them in the same type of photos. Brother Fridolin.
Yeah, Fridolin is pretty. It
Yes.
Part of the grottos.
Outdoor mass.
Chapel, yeah. Yeah, now that I remember.
Do you?
Yeah, that I remember. It almost looked like a German, what do you call it, theme park.
Yeah. Now, was the bridge down here?
I think it was when we were there, and then what
The bridge is still there. You can't really get to it,
So
but
you
you can
can't
see
go
it.
anywhere.
You can see it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about now. The leaves are all
Yeah,
out, but
yeah.
in the fall when I was up there, you could still see it.
Yeah, when was the last time you were up there?
Last fall.
Last fall. How far up did you dare go without?
I just photographed from the road. I
Did
wanted
you?
to make sure I was all legal.
Yeah. I'm hoping he's going to give me some pictures too, if he does.
Oh,
their
that would be
areas.
super. He might have. Who knows what they've got up
Yeah,
there.
whatever I get is yours.
All right.
So this
Now,
must have been
just out of
pilgrims.
curiosity, there's a bunch of photos with nuns in white. Is there any significance to the white habit rather than the black?
Only that certain congregations wore white versus black.
Okay.
When we were there, the little Italian nuns wore white.
Okay.
Usually it was a combination. There were even some nuns that had gray habits,
Mhm.
the gray nuns they call them. But it was local. I mean, it was whatever the custom of their group was.
Well, apparently some of my old people over in Livonia, this is some of the stuff they can remember. They remember these outdoor services and the number of buses that used to come.
Oh yeah, Sunday was
Yeah.
was a big thing. This could have very well been something like the Legion of Mary from Rochester came down for an event.
All right.
Or something like
Sure.
that, or a St. Michael's League from several parishes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Fridolin, it was, we talked about him before.
Now, St. Michael
Aubrey.
is the archangel, right?
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
I want to make sure.
Yeah, and Hugo Aubrey wanted to make the chapel into like a cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, that must be where that 1,000-person figure comes
yeah,
from.
I mean,
okay.
but somehow the society thought that was a little too extreme,
Yeah.
and it's always the practical things, Doug, went out.
Yeah.
I mean, why should we invest in something that is like that? That's not really our mission. Our mission is to train missionaries
Right.
to go abroad.
Okay.
Where his insight was, well, if we build it, they'll come.
Oh.
And they probably would have.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, another group of
Yeah.
seminarians.
All the same group. You'll see these
Yeah.
faces over and over
See,
again.
they're during that era.
This
They're
is this
kids in
4
that
or
era.
5 year
Yeah,
period.
that
Yeah.
era.
There's the bridge.
Yeah.
There's the. Oh no, actually, that's the
Must
main
be a
road.
Road, yeah.
The
Bridge
bridge
is
with the
probably
arch
here.
is over here.
And then the.
And I've
grottos
got
are down.
pictures of that.
There's the winery.
Now there's Borman. That's the Borman that they were interested in.
Okay. So was it Gehring or Borman? Do you remember which one?
Oh, that's right. Now, which one? Hang on. Martin Borman's.
Okay, so it was a Borman.
I have it written down, so
Okay.
if I'm wrong, I'm going to send you the stuff anyhow.
Okay. Be interesting.
Yeah.
That looks, yeah, you sent me that one. That looks very familiar. Palm Sunday, yeah. That's what
That's Rabe again.
wonder what happened to him. I mean, some of these people.
Oh, no. That's killed in car accident. That's Father Ed1. This is a lot better when you have it on your home
Yeah, I know, I
screen.
can see
Everything's
it.
all blown up. Father, it looks like Mormon or Merman. Where's my, hang on. Let me zoom in on.
Okay.
Right. Edward Mormon,
Yeah, there's
professor.
a Mormon, yeah. There
Killed
he
in
is.
car accident in Ohio.
See, look at there. He was born in '09, was ordained in
Oh, man,
'37.
that's neat. Oh, that's wonderful
And
information.
then he entered the society in '23. He took his first vows in '31,
Mhm.
took his final vows in '35, and then
Wow.
was ordained in '37. Yeah, and he's from Ohio, because look, TO is for Toledo.
Yep.
That's the abbreviation for Miller City. And there's Rob. Remember we mentioned he was from Buffalo.
Oh, okay. I've been calling him Rabe. Thank you.
I don't
for
know
the-
if it's. You could be right.
I just.
call him Rob. Rabe. Who knows? But his name was Gerald
Uh-huh.
from Buffalo.
Well, that's neat that he's local.
He was ordained with Mormon.
Yeah.
He was 2 years older.
Born in 11.
But they entered the same time.
Oh yes, everything.
Parallel.
Isn't that something?
And then assigned to Conesus after ordination. They would have gone to Techni, because Techni was the only place,
Right.
with one exception. When I send the book to you on the society, you'll see that they ordained, they had another seminary in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, and that was it was the seminary for African Americans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the SVDs were the
Interesting.
first ones that trained
Uh-huh.
Americans of African American descent for both
Wow.
U.S. and
Yeah.
foreign missions. And some white guys were sent there, and some black
Isn't that
were
something?
sent there.
I'm throwing the.
Yeah.
What is the hat called?
It's called a beretta, and it's an odd thing. It's on the only way to describe it. It depends on how you put it on. It's from the top looking down. It's kind of like this, and there's. I might have this not quite right. Something like this.
Yeah.
There's 3 things that stick up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put it on the wrong way, you look like Mickey Mouse, because it looks like 2 ears. So one of the things, you always
Now,
have
does
to.
this signify him as like the head?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
That's what I was thinking.
It's not a
that-
bishop.
All right,
Yeah.
I thought.
It was an old clerical thing that that's odd for him to be wearing it outside. When we first, they got rid of it after Vatican II, but when we first had it at Conesus, it was only used in chapel.
Uh-huh.
You know, it was only done in chapel, so it's called a beretta, like the gun.
Thank you.
It's probably
You
related.
see,
to
this is
you.
what I like about this. When I'm doing this by myself, I've got nobody to ask.
Well, and we can continue to have sessions
Oh,
if there's any,
absolutely.
and things that I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. I'll try to look at there.
Now, this is what we like as historians. When somebody writes right on something.
1939, yeah.
When it's right on the photograph. Oh, okay. And again, because you keep seeing this guy through the picture, so now you
Yeah,
can really
yeah.
identify this group of young men in the years that they were there.
Yeah,
There we are
look
again.
there. The sad thing about that, though, in these things that I have here that I'll share with you, is that unlike the priests and brothers that are identified, you will get alumni 24. They would be alumni 24. Their names won't be listed here.
Oh.
So what you have to do is find somebody who's still alive, maybe in the society,
Mhm.
that recognized faces as, or to go the next step, go to Techni and find if there are pictures of these guys at Techni.
Well, that's where I want all this
Identified.
stuff to end up, out at
Yeah,
Techni in
yeah.
some permanent collection.
And
So
somebody-
50 years from now,
Somebody can
some
sit
historian. Yep. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You're
that's-
a good man, you're a good
Oh
man.
no, that's my.
Yeah.
That's why I tell it. One of the
Yeah.
reasons I love
And
history is
that's why I want
I will sit here sometimes and I'll bless somebody who lived 100 years ago for writing this stuff down. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
It means so much.
And it will mean so much to someone else later on. No, I couldn't agree with you more, Doug. That's under the arch, yeah.
That's a
There's
great.
that, in class,
Yep.
oh, yeah. Wouldn't it be interesting if you find out that he's a guy like John Coster that went to Ghana as a famous astrophysicist for the society?
Astrophysicist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or my wife, who's a nurse, dialyzed a famous paleontologist, a member of the society, father, and you would enjoy this book. It's out of print, but 4 Years in a Red Hell by Father Rigney. And Rigney was in China
Mhm.
and he was in charge of, the SVDs had a university in Beijing or Peking at that time.
Wow.
And then the Mao came, the communists came,
Mhm.
they shut it down, and Rigney ended up in a Chinese prison for
Oh.
4 years. That's what's 4 years in a red hell.
Mhm.
And great book, but he was alive when we lived in Chicago, and my wife dialyzed him before he died. He had kidney failure.
Mhm.
Great old man. I have pictures of him
Oh.
somewhere. Maybe I'll
Super.
if I can find them, I'll send them to you.
Yeah, because that's another one of these things, we've kind of seen in the movies, but
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
really understand
yeah,
what it
yeah,
really would have
yeah.
been like.
Oh, he writes interesting in his book about his experience day in, day out. He didn't know if he'd ever make it
Yeah.
alive. And it was, he was famous, not because he was a paleontologist, but he was famous, he had connections in his own personal family.
Uh-huh.
And I think they, through the State Department, got the Chinese
Wow.
through, it was almost like a prisoner exchange.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to send some spy back to China. This is in the 50s.
Sure. Sure.
And in turn, they were going to let a couple missionaries go or something like that. China was terrible on missionaries.
Yeah.
I mean, during the
Yes.
Mao era. What is that?
Well, it's a cigar box.
I wonder if they were just having an outing. Is
Yeah.
that okay? Is that a like a
Looks like a trunk.
trunk? Yeah.
Let me see if I got.
Don't.
Well, no, I was just going to see if I had. Well, now let's see.
Yeah,
if I-
don't.
Okay. Oop. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
I don't want to take
That's
it
all
off.
right. That's all right. Back to where we were.
This is such a great collection you have here.
Bunch. See where I am here. I don't want to go too far from where we were. Oh, that we saw. Aren't cheap. That we
I
saw.
remember the.
And
See, you got my curiosity after you showed me these things, and I'm sorry
that's all right.
to take you off your path.
Here's what I was. Oh, right here, my category. Brothers,
Oh,
Grotto
yeah.
Bridge, Hemlock Lake outside, McQuaid Farm Home.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So they're all split up
Yeah.
like that. So you go like here for the Grotto Bridge. And now this is where it's going to be. And then some of the stuff, like if I've got a Word document,
Mm-hmm.
corn, beans, cabbage, and whatnot. That was a little article.
Was that an ad in the paper?
No, it was in one of their mission
Magazines?
magazines. It was the stuff they were raising.
I love it. That's terrific. That is neat.
And that's why this is called St. Michael's Mission Original Scans and Text.
Text.
Right.
Gotcha. That'll have.
So there's both the original scans, and if I added text, that'll be there too. Let's go down here. I think there's 138. We gotta get down to about 230 or so. Nope, we saw her, the girl on the horse.
Yeah. Did you ever think you'd be doing this, 20 years ago?
No.
No.
What happened was, when I was an engineer, I lost my job in '87 because GM slowed down.
Okay,
Didn't
yeah.
need as many engineers. Now I went back to being a machinist, but at the time, GM was offering those of us who had lost our job.
Some retraining. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
Would you like
Yeah.
to?
Try another.
Yeah.
And we'll help pay for part of it.
Right.
Or something.
And I said, sure. So,
Yeah.
but I wanted to get into something that wasn't factory related, so I went for social work. I was actually a drug and alcohol counselor for a little while.
Oh, were you?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
After you put engineering behind you.
Right. And I loved social work in a sense and didn't like it in another sense. And I worked for Catholic Family Charities at one point. They had a refugee resettlement program. I get frustrated with
administration or
bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And I used to say, sometimes you gotta, shit or get off the
Yeah.
pot. And one of my famous cases, not famous, but the one that really brought it home for me, I had this client that was this poor, well, you talk about injustice in the world. This woman was a young Italian girl. She was raped by the town doctor in Italy when she was 17. Being Italy at the time, of course, you get rid of the victim.
Sure. Yeah.
The victim is shamed.
Yeah.
She obviously seduced the doctor. She's a whore. Came to this country, worked at Hickey Freeman, the very famous soup manufacturer. After 30 years working at Hickey Freeman, mostly hand labor and sewing and stuff, her pension was only $88 a month, plus Social Security. Now this is 25 years ago. So she's basically living on less than $400 a month. Well, and again, the greatness of the cultures. I would go to her house. First of all, if you've ever done social work, you pick up all these little things along the way. Old people without money, they will unscrew all the light bulbs in the house except for the one in the kitchen. Because they spend most of their time in the kitchen because that's where the heat is, okay? So anyhow, now here's a woman who has nothing, but whenever I would come to see her, she'd get out, she'd make that espresso coffee, and I'm going to mispronounce it. I'm terrible with pronunciations. The diamis or something, the fancy crackers, cookies. She would bring this out. Now her biggest problem was her washing machine didn't work. Because her washing machine didn't work, she had to wash her clothes
by hand.
In the sink, and sometimes she didn't smell too good. Well, of course, the bureaucracy said, well, we need to socialize her, and we need to this and that. I said, what the woman needs is this washing machine. In this big thing here, don't you have a member of the church that's a plumber or owns an appliance store? Actually, I ended up doing the thing you're never supposed to do. I went out with my own money and bought her a used washing machine.
That way.
I said, let's cut the crap. The woman needs some help right now.
She'll be dead by the time we get approval.
And I said, you know
what?
what?
Did you have any relationship with, like, in most parishes, St. Vincent de Paul Society?
No.
See, that's what you described.
No, I was never part of the Catholic Church. What I've done over the years is like St. Joseph's down here. They have again, this is a terrible story of the decay in the inner city. Every year they have a sister parish in the city, and they do up holiday baskets full of food, blah blah blah. Well, one of the guys that's a good friend of mine, he's an old Italian. He was a forward observer in World War II. Right, so
where he's
anyhow
from.
At the time, and again, this is going back 20 years. He was 77 years old. He would get out of his SUV down here at this inner city parish. Taking the boxes of groceries and stuff out of the car, the people actually knocked them down and were grabbing the stuff. Goods. So because I had an SUV at the time, I volunteered to help out. And I said, this is just how ridiculous it is that...
I have a funny phone. It's my wife. Let me just answer this. Sweet. No. How are you? They have no room. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell Doug, and we'll wander over to the seminary a bit earlier, and then I'll just part company, because he and I can talk by phone about some of this stuff. He's showing me some very interesting pictures from the 30s and 40s that probably no one else has. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I figure there must be some conference or some convention in Corning this week. Yeah. But you can still stay. You can still stay in the room till 5, right?
Oh, we're going in.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Are you, after you've been out? Okay. Well, good. Why don't you do this? When Doug and I have been over to St. Michael's and parted company, I'll call you and let you know. So keep your cell phone on.
Yeah, we're gonna be leaving in about a half an hour.
Yeah, Doug says that we're gonna leave in about a half an hour, and then we're gonna wander over there. Try to meet with this Trappist, just have a walk around, maybe take a few pictures, and then part company, because Doug is wearing me out, and I'm wearing him out. You missed a good opportunity to meet a neat guy, but anyway, some other time.
I'll come down to Georgia.
Yeah, Doug says he's coming to Georgia. He's got relatives down there. Okay. Love you, honey. Yeah, I'll call you when I'm on my way. I left my what? Oh, did I? Okay, well, I apologize for that. Okay. No, I think I'm okay. Okay. Love you. Bye. Yeah, what we suspected, they have no room in the inn. I feel like Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. There's apparently something going on. They were able to squeeze us in last night. We asked for 2 nights, and they didn't say. They just said, I argued.
Well, you do have, oh, come on, I'm drawing a blank, the town right next to it.
Yeah.
Corning,
Corning.
Elmira.
Elmira?
Has a very nice,
Do
they're just a national chain,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I don't remember.
Dolly's already called sister-in-law,
Oh.
one in the Poconos, so we'll
Okay.
just drive and get
Alright.
there late.
See. 311.
Yeah, a few more and I'll show
Well,
you
there,
what's
there's
on this
there's
here.
the Beretta, so we're down that
Yeah.
far. The baseball, the classroom, what we're just looking at.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Do you know what that
Gosh,
says?
Santos is holy. Preclarissimus. I don't know what that means anymore.
But for me, as an outsider, I said, "Boy, this is a science class.
Yeah,
it's
it
pretty
is,
neat."
yeah. What they used to do, what's interesting about the society, it has certain traditions. On every door, on the Feast of the Epiphany, which is January 6th, the end of the Christmas, or some consider the end of Christmas season, they would go around. I have this right. No. I'm trying to think of the names of the 3 kings.
Oh yes. Boy.
Balthazar, Melchior,
Yep.
can't think of the 3rd one.
Okay.
But they would go around and they would bless every door frame and mark in chalk that, and that was a reminder. They also had a tradition called the quarterly hour of prayer. No matter where you were, if you were inside the institution, a bell would ring and you would say this short prayer every 4 times an hour.
Wow.
Now that's similar to what the monks do. And if you were, there's your woodchuck.
Oh yes.
Isn't that what it is? Or is
Yep,
that,
that's a woodchuck.
Yeah. I just saw that out there. And
I have a big cherry tree out there in another month.
Oh,
Cherries
they'll
are
be
just
all-
coming on now.
they'll-
What it is, they actually stand out there
and let them fall.
and they
and
wait
catch
for
it.
them to fall.
And catch it.
Well, they don't catch it, but rather than go after the ones that are already on the ground, they sit there and wait for one to fall, and then they
Well,
go
they,
over and eat
they
it.
must know something. I'll find out what that
Okay.
means and send you.
Even foxes eat cherries. I
Do
was
they
really
really?
surprised at the number of animals that eat them.
No, is that like a loose?
I don't know. Looks like
Doesn't
my-
it look like the skin?
Yep.
He needs a few stitches. There's a couple
Yeah.
seminarians.
That's neat.
Oh,
Christmas time.
Yeah. Yeah, some sort of like a stencil. Something else.
Now, I don't know what you believe. I'm just bringing this up. It was interesting. I learned this down at Nazareth.
Mhm.
But according to one of my former nuns, there's only 3 people in heaven. There's only Mary and the thief and Jesus. That all others are, we are
We're
dead
waiting, we're
until
waiting.
the return of
We're waiting.
Christ.
I think I'm of the type of the Catholic agnostic that says, I don't know, and there's
Yes.
no physical evidence to suggest one way or the other. I want to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, I can
And,
tell you,
yeah.
and I'll turn this off for a second.
You don't want to put
At
it
home-
Yeah, and I'll put it up on.
And I have
pieces
upstairs.
of
I have a
monitor.
20-inch
Yeah,
widescreen,
monitor, yeah.
and when I look at them, it's
Yeah.
just wonderful.
Oh, look at that.
Uh-huh.
That's terrific. Again,
Look
there's
at-
our hockey players.
Yeah.
Those are so 40s pictures, aren't they? I
Yes.
mean, I have some in
Well, you
my
can see
family.
no high-speed film or shutter at that time. You
Yeah.
know,
Good gosh. Yeah, look at that.
look at the coffee pots
Yeah,
over
yeah.
here, and you see Conesus Lake here.
So
The
that's,
cottage-
yeah,
This
that's
is
how,
Conesus.
yeah, because
Yeah, all the cottages are gone off from Hemlock by about
Yeah.
1901.
Okay. And they kind of made Hemlock kind of a natural preserve, didn't they,
Yeah.
by and large? Yeah.
Yep. We now
Rochester.
have 42 nesting pairs of
Of
bald
eagles?
eagles
I heard
in the
that.
United States. I mean, in New
In
York
New York
State.
State.
The last remaining nesting pair
Mhm.
was in 1965 at Hemlock. That was there were no eagles in the Adirondacks. There were no eagles in the Catskills.
So
the last,
when the SVDs were there
yes, that was the last remaining pair. And from that, we now have 42 nesting pairs.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Look at this. There's their hockey
Yep.
team. They are pretty ruggedized, the guys, aren't they?
Yes.
When you look at them, you know.
Yep.
Cool. At this time, most of the SBD seminarians were coming from northern climates. It was later a seminary in California, but that happened in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
The only
you want any more?
exception, no, I'm fine, thank you. I've had my daily fill. No, I like
Okay.
coffee a lot. but-
I was going to tell you, mine is 50-50 mix because I
Is it?
drink so
Okay.
much.
Okay,
I drink
You're
about
smart.
10 cups a day,
you're smart, yeah.
so I mix it. Now we're back up at the seminary grounds, and these guys are out in the
Yeah.
woods screwing around.
Yeah, look at that. Where would that have been?
I don't know. I think that's that building that we saw that was burned down earlier.
Okay.
What I call the chicken coop because I don't know
Yeah.
what it really was or what else it
Yeah.
was.
Wonder who that is. Probably the procurator. He was the guy that handled the money.
Yeah, you can see
See,
that.
the adding machine. That's what I figured that was about, you know.
And what was he called?
Procurator.
Wow.
The procurator.
Uh-huh.
Each mission house had one that was.
Do you know what they're doing here? They're doing a hog.
Oh.
Have you ever scraped a hog?
Yeah.
We used to raise it. My wife's from a farm family, So
See, and I have
right
relatives who are
right up
pig
into the
farmers,
80s,
yeah.
we still raised our own pork and stuff like that.
Did you ever, now this is, see, my wife is Chinese but raised in the Philippines. Did you ever roast a pig?
No.
Pig roast? That's very,
Yeah.
like for baptisms and for things like that.
The first domesticated animal in China,
Mm-hmm.
about 8,000 years ago.
What's
This is
the-
the oldest
yeah.
domesticated animal there
It's
is.
the
A lot of
pig,
people think
yeah.
it's the cow, but it's not.
The pig,
It's
yeah.
the pig.
Well, the pig is smart.
Yes,
Probably
that was the
smart.
bad part. That's why I could never make a farmer. I love the animals, and the pigs. Pigs are as smart as a German Shepherd.
Oh, they
And
are.
after we would kill the first one, the rest of them had a sense of what was and
happening, and you,
but
you
we
could
we
see it.
um
Yeah.
we our butchering could be considered kosher because it's the way you're supposed to do it. You
Slit.
You cut the jugular
Yeah.
vein, and then
And
they
then
go
you-
over in the hay and they lay there,
Yeah.
and they basically fall asleep as they lose
Yeah.
blood. So
Yeah.
it's a good way to get the blood out of the animal, but also give them a. You don't ever want to see a slaughterhouse and
Yeah.
what goes on there.
Yeah.
And I'm as guilty as everybody else. I buy my pork chops at the store. But,
We all do. It's the other white meat,
yeah,
Doug.
but I do believe in. I was glad I had that experience of farming where
So-
we killed our own animals,
so
and it
you
was
know.
done in a good way. But you see the work and the time and everything goes into it, and there's nothing like home. What we would do is buy feeder pigs.
Mm-hmm.
You buy them in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
so that they're about. You don't want for home use. You don't want
Mhm.
much over 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
About 200 pounds in March, and the reason you butcher in
Mhm.
March is because it's still cool at night.
Yeah.
So you butcher one day, and we have those big tripods set up,
Yeah.
and the meat hangs.
Hangs.
And then the next day, everything gets cut up,
Yeah.
packaged, and in
Yeah.
the freezer.
See, I knew that from my relatives that own pig farms in Iowa. Neat.
A little blurry, but
Yeah, it gets the idea across.
well, no. 20 years from now,
Yeah.
the technology will be
Yeah.
around to solve all this. Yeah, it's probably there today. I just don't know about it. But I mean, we're just coming so fast here. I don't know if the latest computer chips are now three-dimensional
Mm-hmm.
because we've approached the limits of physics
Yeah.
in getting them smaller.
Mm.
So now it'll be like, here's one microchip,
Mm.
and there'll be another microchip on top of it, another
Yeah,
microchip
builds.
builds up.
Mm.
I love science. Look at this guy here. Yeah.
That might be King. He was the first American sent to China. I bet it is.
I don't know if I've got him identified. He's in another slide.
Yeah. Not kidding.
Here the
That's
guys
nice.
are.
There's Aubrey. I know that face.
Excuse me? Are you missing something? I know, you're afraid, you're afraid something's going on and you're not part of it?
Yeah,
Come on,
Not-
Cartman.
not part of the equation.
Come on, Cartman. Come on down. Nothing up here. Come on. Thank you.
Jump.
Look at this here.
Oh, there are the
Cartman.
sheep. Huh? All right, now you want to
Cartman, get
play
down.
with sugar. That's not good for you.
No, we're not paying attention to him.
Enough, yeah.
Is what the problem is.
Yeah, I'm important, and
Yeah. This-
you're not.
yeah.
That's interesting. There's some seminary at that.
And again, this guy here, we've seen so
Yeah.
many of the pictures, obviously a very good friend.
It's interesting to see two of them together. Usually, this whole thing about, I was talking to one of my classmates about that particular friendship. The society was very careful about pairing off. Whenever you went out and walked or went somewhere, instead of two, it was usually three.
Okay.
Not that
They didn't want
Just-
you to isolate into the two
exactly.
of you.
They didn't want a relationship developing that was not a healthy relationship.
Or even just a in-group, out-group kind of mechanics.
Yes, yeah.
They didn't want you and your buddy to
that's
get
it.
together and read the comics and not
then
socialize with
It's
the other
someone
ones.
else,
Right.
exactly, and that's it. And
You
in
are
fact-
part of a group.
And in fact, that point was made. That's a better way to make the point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's always like that in group mechanics. You
Yeah.
lose the cohesiveness if you
You're a
form
gr-
these
you're-
exclusionary.
Right. You're a band of brothers.
Right.
You're not a dyad.
Right.
You know? There he's in a cassock with his surplice. This is called a surplice.
Oh.
I can get you the names for these things that they would be worn. Snowman.
There's a big snowman behind him.
That is a big snowman.
Yeah.
On skis. The skis came, it's interesting, at least the skis we used came after the war and they were brought by, who was my first novice master, Father Wagner. He had been caught, no, he was sent to Europe before World War II to study theology. Theology is usually 4 years. It was in Austria. So he was in an SVD Austrian seminary studying theology. He couldn't get out. And so World War II, he had to spend it there as an American. And World War II ended. And when he came back, apparently he must have befriended, and I have to confirm this is kind of like stories you know or have heard. Apparently he must have befriended, let's say, the Alpine, the American Army Alpine.
Yeah.
He came back to Conesus with over, let's say, 150 pairs of skis.
Wow.
And those are the skis that we use. Now,
Yeah.
apparently they had skis before World War II. But that's how the skis that we use, the story that was told. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Now, we had a guy in Lyman went through a similar thing, but on the other end. He and his family were German or Austrian or Polish, immigrated to New York City. Before World War II, went back to visit relatives.
And couldn't get out.
Right.
And couldn't return.
Right, and he got conscripted into the German army. Now, at the end of the war, the Russians were coming. He grabbed his family, went towards the American lines, and then when he was yelling out that, I used to live in New York City, and he started telling them where he lived, started talking about baseball teams, till eventually they recognized that, this guy really did, and that's what saved him from the Soviets.
Or he'd be in some gulag.
But can you imagine, going back to Germany just before the war, and then it breaks out, and he's still alive today, and he's got to be close to 90. But he was great. He owned a local meat market here in town because guess what he was? He was a meat
butcher.
Yeah, he knew he smoked his own meats, the old style European.
Yeah. Like a guy in our parish.
Yeah, screwing around.
Yeah, look at this.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's sort of crap I used to do when I was a kid.
I know, the dumb things young guys do when they're...
always going down on the ice in spring and, walking out on the ice and the cracks and...
I wonder if any seminarians lost their life here at Conesus. That'd be an interesting thought. There's one seminarian I have
if they did, it would have been down Hemlock Lake. That's almost where all our fatalities are.
I should see if in the archives the technique. Joe Gunning, I know the name. Lynn Mass. This guy I don't know. Anaconda, Montana?
Yeah. And I actually got online and looked for that family in Anaconda. I couldn't find anything.
This guy, I do know. He became a priest.
Yep.
Joe Gunning.
Yep. Yes. Everybody seems to know him.
Yeah.
So he must have been a big deal while he was up there.
And this fellow probably dropped out somehow.
But here again, March 31st, 1940. Yeah.
You couldn't ask for anything clearer than that.
Look at this. Route 15, Springwater, painted post. There's the barns.
The farm,
See, dairy cow,
yeah.
Beautiful. More sheep. The old dairy barn. Maybe that's what
we saw. No.
No. I'm going to have to look at some old maps or something, see if I can't figure out where that was. I don't think it's that building behind the bishop's place. That was something else, the one I call the chicken coop.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this was. This would have been, further up. It has since been torn down.
Is that apple picking?
Yeah.
Those are
grapes.
But
I do have pictures though with them picking apples.
So they did raise apples.
Yep.
They said,
Now this is neat.
Yeah.
Look at the bridge. Look at the building.
That is nice. That one you sent me, that's nice. Yeah. Seminarians. Wow,
It's a
look
creek
at that.
one.
That's on the lake, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Does it still ice over as much?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I
Yes,
figured
yes.
it. Figured so. Looks like. Find me. Where's Walter?
There we go, yeah.
I do remember things like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, there's lots of those little gullies.
Yeah, yeah. And that was it. There were gullies
Yeah.
down to the lake, and you had to be careful.
Oh, absolutely.
This British friend of mine said that he took a tumble when he was walking down there one time, and it was in winter like that. He ended up on his back, and luckily he didn't hurt himself.
Yeah.
You know. Wow, that's the Hemlock I remember.
That's from the top of the buildings
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
looking out over the ball fields. And the bishop's house is over
Over
here.
out to the right.
Yeah.
Mhm. God, these are amazing. They look like storm clouds
Yep.
coming. Winter. There's that little house
Yeah.
again.
Let me see.
Yours
Yeah,
truly.
that's the guy who took the pictures.
Yeah,
Me, yours truly.
you're swimming.
Mm-hmm. Now this is over at Conesus.
Oh, is it?
Yes, this is
And the
Conesus
reason
Lake.
you know that, why?
Well, because of the cottages
Okay.
and the docks, and the picture says
Okay.
the back of the picture.
uh,
Oop, I reached in. Okay, what am I looking for here? These are the ones you haven't seen, and they're all on your disc. So
Nice.
these are some of the ones I've taken out and put into their special categories. This is Brother Fridolin's helper,
Okay.
Brother Killian.
Brother Killian. Yeah, I'm sure he's in here somewhere.
But this is the first photograph that ever shows, you know, how they make some of these things, you know?
Well, they were, you know, as I said, the brothers had skills
Yeah.
that were practical skills.
Here's a nice one of the inside of the grotto. There's Brother Fridolin. Yeah, the guy looks like a brother.
Yeah.
But here we are with the building construction again.
The society later on.
This is the bridge here.
Okay, yeah, that looks familiar. The society later on had a centralized architectural service for worldwide. When I was teaching the Philippines, we built a new campus for a 5,000
Now,
person.
were you in a big city or in the
No,
countryside?
I was in a provincial capital. It'd be like.
Because I've been to the Philippines too
Okay,
for training.
yeah.
That was my big introduction to lizards.
You know where Clark Air
Yeah,
Force Base
uh-huh.
is. Actually, when I taught, when you were in Nam, I was in the Philippines from '68 through '71.
Uh-huh.
I was actually closer to Da Nang than I was to Manila.
I'll be darned.
The only thing is separated.
Because I know there's
is
like
the South-
5,000 islands.
the South
yeah,
China Sea.
Right.
I was at the tip of Luzon, and it was a town called Lawag City in the
Uh-huh.
Locos Norte. And we were building a new campus for a 5,000 student
Wow.
university. It became a university. It was a college at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And the SVDs in Rome had a worldwide architectural service, and they helped design buildings, you know, to make them somewhat standardized.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
cost
so-
effective too. I
It
mean,
is,
yeah.
because then they.
We did the same thing in engineering. Once you made a
Yeah.
part, over
You
the
did.
years, you take that same blueprint and just
You-
make a few changes.
Yeah, it might look a little different in Indonesia than it did in the Philippines, a little
That's
different
what
in
we call
Africa.
why reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
If you've already got a drawing done and yours is going to
Yeah.
be very similar, okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Especially, I was one of the first CAD cam.
CAD cam. I had
That's
sketch
back
that.
when CAD cam,
Oh, had big machines.
big machines, individual machines, you had to go to specialized
Yeah.
training. This 1982, I think I got onto it. But that was such a breakthrough that I could pull up a print, a digitized print, and if I wanted to change it from 3/4 to 1/2, it automatically did it for me.
Didn't have to redraw.
Oh God!
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
Well, just think, because we're both a similar age.
Yeah.
More than half
Mm.
of all human
Mhm.
knowledge has been learned in our lifetime.
Oh yeah, yeah.
More than
When you
half.
think of it. And the interesting thing about it too, if we don't mess it up,
Yeah, if we don't
destroy
blow
it
ourselves
all,
up, we've got a bright future.
Yeah, that and the seeds. If we keep the repositories, maybe life will go on.
I know, because everything's a hybrid.
Yeah.
There's only, I think, 2 strains of wheat that if we ever had a pandemic that destroyed those strains, we'd be in a lot of
I
trouble.
know. Apples are similar. You know?
Yes, that.
The Kazakhstani apple that's about the size
I
of
tell everybody the genetic stuff is great and scary at the same time.
I know.
We've become so over dependent.
We paint ourselves in those corners.
Absolutely. If you know, well, this is the whole thing I tell people with AIDS, why we should be concerned.
Mhm.
If AIDS ever mutates to where it can be spread by mosquitoes,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Think of the people that get bitten every day.
Oh,
All of us.
but this is, when you get into selective breeding where
Yeah.
there's only that one strain there,
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up for that cataclysmic.
Yeah.
Well, but you see,
Knockdown.
we have to change over time, and I've changed over time. I watch the Garden Channel. I watch, I think it's Rick James who hosts one of the garden programs.
Mm.
I have a natural lawn. I don't fertilize. I
Yeah.
don't, no pesticides. There's a variety of grasses out there. It's actually healthier now and more
Than it
alive.
was when
I
you were
want the
trying to-
microbes.
Yeah.
I want the
Well, it's like ourselves.
Things.
You don't want to wash your hands. You
Right.
want to wash your hands, but you don't want to be too antiseptic because the moment that we all need bugs. We worked out a relationship.
Without bacteria in our guts, we wouldn't live. I mean, you know, it's just.
We can't be sanitized.
Yeah, here we go. Building of the grotto. 1938 was when it was
Yeah.
being put up.
See, I could only guess, so this is very beneficial. Disney priest, I wonder who that is. Someone will know.
Somebody will know,
Yeah.
right?
There are a few old timers still around, you know.
Yeah. Now, I just want to show you some of the
Yeah.
different categories. Brothers, McQuaid,
Yeah.
Farm Home, Mission After.
What's that one?
Well, I have my pictures in here someplace too from last year. Oh, here's Mary. This was the first communion at the
Oh,
buildings
okay.
you were in.
Okay.
Because Mary was in that first group.
Was she?
That's her.
That's interesting. They didn't do it in their parish, you know, as opposed.
I don't know why, except
Yeah.
that.
When
Well,
you
Leo
yeah.
was the farm boss.
Okay. Well, maybe it was because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their association with.
But like I said, I've got her name is, I think, Betty Green. She's about 85 or 6,
Mhm.
but she's one of these families in Livonia that has this special relationship with
Mhm.
St. Michael's because she knows everybody.
Okay.
All right, and even though there was their own Catholic church
Yeah.
in
See, there's-
Livonia, that's Joe.
yeah. Joe Green, huh?
Joe Eaton.
Joe Eaton. Okay. Is this?
This is Mary.
Mary.
This is the first communion in that building,
Interesting.
and her first communion.
Yeah,
I
her
guess.
first communion as well.
And here's this guy again.
Yeah.
I really want to find out who he is. And like I said, he's apparently, you know, a good friend of the photographer
Yeah.
because he's in so many pictures. But whenever I show these pictures, a lot of the women say, "Boy, they had some good-looking guys." Yeah, they did.
There's
Christmas.
the crèche
Mhm.
day, Christmas nativity scene. Amazing,
Oh yeah, you've just seen a portion of
Yeah.
them.
Let me show you these quickly.
Yep,
And then
I'm gonna get right out of
and
this.
will be. These were not the quality when I digitized these. My, some of these, well, I'll let you be the judge. Some are not that, I think most of them are like 2 meg, you know. So
Oh,
they're
that's
not
fine.
that-
No, no.
not
When I give
quality.
shows or programs,
Mhm.
I usually reduce everything down to about 680 kilobytes.
Do you, what you
That'll
do.
give you a really great image up on the screen, but it's also, there's no lag time.
Yeah.
You saw the lag time I had here?
Mhm.
When you reduce them down to view files with AC/DC, when you reduce it down to 600 and it wanted to add the mega data to it. Nope. In the excluded mode is what you want. All it is most files today have metadata.
Mm.
I don't usually,
There's
I don't
about
really use
5.
it.
Yeah, there you go. Just open up each one
Okay.
quickly, and I'll show you kind of some of
I wish you, oh, here it goes. Don't show this dialogue again. Thank you very much. There we go. Now we'll zoom through it.
This is Thomas Megan, the first American SVD bishop
Oh.
in China.
I've never seen his
Yeah.
picture before because I would have.
He wrote a book called The Atomic Apostle. An interesting guy. I actually took this. I scanned a picture from his book that he wrote, and I thought it was interesting because he was. If anybody, I knew about him before I joined this. Before I became a seminarian, and I was intrigued by what he was doing in China. And he came back, and
Well, I was going to ask you about
Yeah.
that. How did you become?
it was, you know, the good nuns in parishes. There was Sister Bernard Ann, a school sister in Notre Dame. She had 3 brothers in the society.
Now, is this back where you grew
In
up or where
Iowa.
you went to school?
No, in Iowa.
Okay.
I was in high school.
Okay.
And I didn't go to the traditional route of many seminarians started after 8th grade. They went to one of the SVD
Right.
high schools.
Mm-hmm.
I came after I graduated from high school
Oh.
and was planning to go to college, and
Mm-hmm.
met this recruiter, this vocational recruiter, and he gave me a copy of the book, this book, so I read that and a couple
Oh.
other things. And I said, well, let's go try it out. Next
Mhm.
thing I knew, I was out in Massachusetts, going to college. And then a few years later, I was up here at Conesus, being a novice. And then a few years later, I was at Technique studying
Wow.
theology. So,
Oh, hey.
but he's, yeah, he was from Iowa too.
Uh-huh.
He was a missionary SVD from Iowa that became a bishop in China.
Neat.
Yeah, neat guy.
The first bishop.
First SVD.
Oh.
No, there are other bishops. First
Okay.
SVD
BD.
American bishop
Okay.
in China. There's me in
Wow.
college. You know.
Yeah.
And it said some of these will have no meaning. There's my family in
Nice.
Iowa as a kid. And you can go through these very quickly. There's no.
Okay.
There's our chapel at Island Creek, Massachusetts, in
See,
1960.
I've never even heard of Island Creek. That's
Yeah.
a new one for me.
Yeah, that was that was the college 2 years.
Logos means.
Means word, the
Okay.
divine word, logos in
Oh,
Greek.
okay.
Verbum in Latin, logos in Greek means word. There's our chapel. There's that,
Yeah.
that picture. There's the one I sent you, Cardinal
Yes.
Iten. He visited us. Walter Joyce, Saint of the Earth. Later on, he was rector. He was in charge of the community when I was there. And here was a
Is
high
rector
school.
overall head of the
Yeah,
whole thing?
Everybody reports to him.
Okay.
He's numero uno
Okay.
at that place. That's why he was probably out welcoming Cardinal Tien. And this is one of the high schools, brother.
Now, he was from Vietnam, wasn't he?
No, China.
China, okay.
Yeah, he was the first Chinese cardinal.
But he was an SVD member.
SVD,
Okay.
yeah. He had been an SVD priest, and then Rome made him into a cardinal. Interesting guy. This same fellow, this is Girard, Pennsylvania. Notice the architecture is similar,
Oh, yeah.
but that's from a postcard. So
Nice.
just, again, a seminarian at Technique from Australia. There was me, Peter Flannery, an Australian, and Bill Seifert. We were all ordained. Seifert's the only one that's still in. Pete died early. He married a Papago Indian woman and lived in Arizona. This is in front of the White House. We were there studying in D.C. one summer. Bill went to New Guinea for over 30 years as a missionary and is now a technique.
Wow.
Yeah, good guy. There's Seaford, Flannery, and my sister Angela worked for the company. She worked in D.C.
Oh, attractive girl.
For the CIA.
Actually, the color held up pretty good on yours.
Interesting.
Was that a slide?
I don't remember.
Because Kodak did a really bad thing for a lot of years. Their color film was terrible.
This was a place where after summer school, 2 weeks, we'd go up to called Villa St. Thomas up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh yes.
And that's my British friend I talked about. There's myself.
I've been up in the UP, up at Black Lake, and I always tell everybody when you fly over the Upper Peninsula in the plains, you look down.
Oh,
there's nothing there.
There is absolutely.
You're going, holy smokes!
You get on a train and it takes you forever to get there, and you finally get there, and they have a bus that picks you up and it takes you.
Yeah.
But it was nice. It's a good place to go.
But their specialty up there is what, the whitefish or something?
There's the fish boils.
Yeah.
They're the fish boils. Yeah. There's my British friend when he had hair. There's were two classmates that were in the inner city parish in Chicago. Art Houston's an Australian and Flannery's an Australian. We were living in the community. Joe Ledesma, a Filipino classmate. There's Joe with the guitar. Art Houston again. There's the Techni, the Twin Towers.
Oh, okay. Now, Techni, is it all SVD or is that a
Well, it was all SVD and now it's a conference center. The older priests have a...
well, isn't there a Catholic university out there? What am I
well, there's Loyola University.
Okay,
Chicago.
that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Techni is more suburban Chicago, out near out near the naval field at Glenview Naval Air Station. It's on the northern side. There's the Mick again. You can just shoot through these.
Okay.
This is when I was in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And
I recognized the water buffalo.
And I was in a barrio for one summer working with some of the poorest people I ever lived with.
But it's so neat to see the other cultures.
I
love Japan. I love the Philippines. I've been to Taipei.
Yeah, same. I've been to all these places.
Jeez, and sometimes I'm almost torn. I love the multiculturalism that we have in the United States, but I also see that benefit of a single. I guess for the benefit of all those foreign minds that made us what we are today.
We're the recipients.
Right.
Of that.
Well, I've always said for many, many years, we were just as guilty of colonialism because we took the best and the brightest from these countries. That one of the reasons they may not have gotten to where we are is because we took their George Washingtons. Well, we took Tusk from what, Poland or someplace to come over here and give us AC, and we took, it's a delicate balance there. Nothing we can do about it. It's the way of the world.
I was teaching. Those were high school students. Here's Taiwan.
That's neat, though.
Yeah.
A friend of mine went to Korea to teach English, and what a joy!
Oh yeah.
Because these are mostly private schools, and these kids want to learn.
Yeah.
And she says,